All right, welcome guys. This is Everlife Gaming Network. We are in quarterfinals. We have Anarchy versus Mammoth here, and this is going to be game one of the best of three series, and we're going through pick and bans phase. How are you doing, Primus? All right. So starting off with the bans, we do see that Mammoth does have Nocturne, Echo, and Yasuo as their first bans. Nocturne has been a relatively strong jungler this patch. Consistently, he's really good. One of those hyper carry junglers, and also has really good engage with ultimate. Looking over at the first three bans over on Anarchy, we see LeBlanc, Gragas, and Ezreal. Ezreal's a decent pick right now. He's not an S tier 80 carry, but he is at least an A tier 80 carry.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't want to interrupt while he was talking. Sorry about that. Just had a little bit of mic issues coming in here. So, as you said, Ezreal's kind of one of the top 80 carries. I'm not a huge fan of him on the current patch, just because I feel like there's a lot of 80 carries or bot laners you could play that succeed a lot better, because you have to be really good at Ezreal in order to succeed when you need to. While if you're not at quite as good as Ezreal, you just kind of don't do anything.
Yeah, most definitely. And then first pick Trundle over on the side of Mammoth, which is really interesting. That's either probably going to be flexed or it's just going to stay in the jungle. And on the side of Anarchy, they first pick the bot lane of Ashe and Braum, which is relatively strong. You have the Braum concussive blows, which pairs up really nicely with Ashe with her Q. It just sets up really nice lane pressure, especially in the 2v2 matchup. Uh, they respond with an Alistar, which is really interesting. It helps to know, but we'll see whether or not it complements AD carry. And we see Caitlyn locked in. That's very interesting.
However, yeah, like one of my things about Caitlyn is that Ashe was kind of considered the soft counter. Like she first started coming back in early in season 7, when it was basically Caitlyn and Jhin as the preeminent 80 carries down in the bottom lane. It's just like, oh, Ashe does really well into both of those. So it isn't the strongest 2v2 lane matchup going with the Caitlyn Alistar into the Braum Ashe, because both the Ashe and the Braum, I would say, do very well in this lane matchup. However, it's very dependent on which side gets tempo advantage first. If the Caitlyn Alistar can get tempo advantage, it'll most certainly favor them in terms of the 2v2. However, if Ashe and Braum get the tempo advantage, it's a lot easier for them in the matchup.
Yeah, that's how it usually is in most cases. It really just depends on whether Alistar is able to get in there without getting kited out by Ashe. Caitlyn does have really nice poke in lane, but in terms of a hard engaged 2v2 matchup, I'd say Braum and Ashe have a really strong advantage over Alistar and Caitlyn. Just for the fact that Braum has his W and also his door, which is really good, stopping projectiles like Caitlyn's Q and auto attacks. So that it gives them that bit of an edge. And we also see Graves picked up on the side of Anarchy. Graves has been relatively strong this current patch. I really like him as a jungler. He's very fast. Really good in terms of skirmishes, which is expected in these type of games here. So Anarchy is looking for a more skirmishing, team fighting, team composition here. You have a lot of synergy with the Ashe ultimate with Braum, and Graves just puts out a lot of damage on the table.
Yeah, plus Graves is kind of considered a quasi counter pick to Trundle, because Trundle really can't do anything to Graves in terms of the 1v1 scenario. Graves is just too much damage, has a lot of kite potential to deal with a lot of what Trundle will bring to the table. I do really like the blind Zoe coming in for Duck Solo in the mid lane for Anarchy, because everyone knows that Zoe's been a busted champion pretty much ever since release, and is always going to be a very strong pick in that mid lane if you can execute properly. But on the other side, we're seeing Twiz picking up the Xerath, be like, okay, you want to try to kill people from half the screen away? I can kill people from half a screen away too.
Yeah, I really like the Xerath and Zoe matchup here. It's a skill matchup. I'd say that it goes hand in hand. Zoe does have the advantage since she is very mobile, but if Xerath is able to land his skill shots, then it's looking pretty solid for them on the side of Mammoth. Anarchy rounding off with a hover over Draven, which is very interesting to see.
Don't think that's actually going to get locked in.
Uh,
Waiting to see their top laner come in. We're seeing Ornn coming in for Rainer in the top lane. Going to be interesting to see where he's going to have to end up playing against in the top lane. Really don't think this Draven locks in. I like the Gnar pick. It's pretty much a standard pick into most tank matchups. Going over to they're actually
I think it's a really good lane for Ornn actually, because Ornn excels at kind of applying pressure during the laning phase. With his W. The only reason he has to be really careful with is when Gnar goes in mega form. So that's something to look out for in terms of like looking at this based on composition wise. I feel like Anarchy has a really strong team fighting composition. So does Mammoth, but I feel like on the side of Anarchy, it's a bit easier to pull off. You have the Gnar ultimate. Gnar really just has to land an ultimate on 2 to 3 members and let Zoe and Ashe and Graves do all the DPS. Whereas Mammoth really have to scramble and tangle a bit with their team composition. They have to have a really good initiation from Trundle, and it could be a bit difficult for them since there's a lot of zoning. There's this Zoe sleep bubble, there's the Braum slow ultimate, and the Graves W, which kind of shrouds the vision around them. So they're gonna have a lot to deal with in terms of engaging on Anarchy.
well, on the other side of the map, I kind of disagree with you on Mammoth's team fighting potential because, yes, there's a lot of AoE CC can come out with the Trundle Pillar, with the Alistair, and with the Ornn. The issue is when you look at their two carries, they're very much siege-centric champions. They're not renowned for their ability to execute within team fights because they're both relatively immobile and really rely on landing poke damage or damage at range in order to really be truly effective. So I kind of would favor Mammoth if they get in this situation where they have the tempo advantage and they can start setting up vision control around towers and start beating down these turrets with the amount of poke coming out from Twizz's Xerath and Flareon on the Caitlyn to beat those structures down. I feel like that's the true strength of their composition is their ability to set up around towers and beat them down. And considering they are on the blue side, it's extremely advantageous for them to be playing around the Baron if they can get ahead. Well, I do completely agree with you on the status of Anarchy, though. They have a very, very powerful team fight composition, but their front line isn't the greatest. Like, they don't really have a lot that can sustain a lot of poke damage and regenerate because Gnar's situational front line, Bromwell, yes, he's a tanky support. He's not a true tank because he doesn't have the necessary gold income. So it's really going to come down to team fight execution and how this early game goes to really see how these two team compositions end up shaping up.
Yeah, most definitely. Mammoth kind of sticking with a siege composition actually, because if you look at it, Trundle is also really good at taking down structures with W. So once he puts down Frozen Domain, he just shreds through turrets. And if you pair him up with Caitlyn, that's a lot of damage going out on turrets. And they're going to be able to rotate very quickly. So I'm expecting them to be more focused on sieging and actually getting down turrets. Whereas Anarchy are really looking for that team fight that looks really good for them. And that's how they're going to get their lead. That's basically how they have to basically win this because Caitlyn scales very highly while Ashe does scale into the late game. It does take a while for her, whereas Caitlyn is sort of relevant around 2 items. Ashe takes about 3 items to be relevant.
Yeah, I mean, both these AD carries don't really excel until they get to that 3 to 4 item point here. So as we close down to the spectator delay here, we've got these two team lineups set up for you guys. First, we're going to have Anarchy coming in for you guys. We have Great Jace up in the top lane, Viper Fang in the jungle, Duck Solo in the mid lane, Super Duck in the 80 carry role, and then lastly is Bang Bus Driver pulling out the Braum.
Yeah, most definitely. And we have on the side of Mammoth, we have Rainer playing Ornn in the top lane. 1 second. Wait for client to load. Let's
Oh,
hope
the
client.
joys of client.
Yeah, let's pray. Oh, there we go. It works. So we have once again Rainer in the top lane playing Ornn. We have Blitz playing Trundle in the jungle. Twiz playing Xerath in the mid lane, Flareon and X1 Meme 1X playing Caitlyn and Alistar in the bot lane.
Okay, and I just think, just for clarification purposes, we should just refer to Alistair's meme. Make
Yeah,
our lives easier
I
on the
was
casting
respecting the
test.
name. It's not my preference, but I'll respect it.
It's
And
okay. I still remember I had a cast with a guy whose name was XX Jamal Big Sexy XX69. So
man, that's one of the reasons why you just love League of Legends.
yes, love is a strong term I would use here, but we're getting closer and closer to getting onto the Rift here. Is there anything you really have your eye on? Because we kind of mentioned the strengths of each individual compositions, but which side do you actually favor in trying to get the early tempo advantage to really start executing their compositions?
Definitely Anarchy. I really like the Graves pick. It's really easy to gank Xerath early game, so I'm expecting him to focus, prioritizing mid lane. It's really easy, especially with the Zoe sleep, bubble trouble, and then Graves just kind of pops the W down, and Xerath is really immobile. He has to force a flash or cleanse, and even then, there might just be enough damage to just take him out anyways, since Zoe is running Ignite.
And the electrocute. Can't forget that extra little burst damage, especially if she's able to combo that with her passive and her W when she goes in for that long range combo. We are now on to the Rift for game number 1 here. We have Mammoth being on the blue side for you guys in this first game, and Anarchy on the red side here. Gonna be interesting to see if we're seeing any level 1 shenanigans between these two teams, but I find it highly unlikely. It's game 1. While yes, you want to try to set up for something in game number 1 because that's your opportunity to catch someone by surprise, but you also don't want to risk something going wrong.
Yeah, most definitely. And we do see actually 4 members of Anarchy are stacked in that bush. They're looking for an invade, maybe.
I mean, they
Or
do
they
have
could,
a Braum and an Ash, so there's a lot of long range crowd control, plus the Boomerang.
yeah, their level 1 is super strong because if Braum lands past concussive blows on
He
anyone,
does.
that's going to burn a
Ooh.
flash from Meme. Yep, there you go. That's an easy flash, easy 5-minute cooldown, and Anarchy are just going to take what they get and just head back and relax.
I mean, free summoner is free.
Yeah, it's very
Good start to the
unfortunate.
game because it will inhibit Meme's ability to execute in the level pretty much until he has that flashback up, which will be around 540 or so. Possibly a little earlier, possibly a little later. I'd actually have to go back to see exactly when that flash ended up coming through or not, because Alistair really only has one direction. He can really only go in. And until he has that flash, he can't really get out of a fight. Both junglers starting bot side. Nothing too unexpected there. The curious thing for me is where these junglers are going to look to pressure Scuttle Crab here. If we're going to both see him try to contest bot side Scuttle Crab, or if we're going to see one of them go to immediately top Scuttle.
I can see Graves actually prioritizing the top side Scuttle Crab. Trundle, Bliss is actually going to prioritize bottom side, so they're just going to mirror match up the Scuttle and kind of walk out. Nothing too special here. And as we can see, a lot of aggression from Meme. He actually goes in for the early level 2. They hit level 2 first, so they have an advantage. Getting some nice poke. And wow, Super Duck taking a lot of damage during that trade.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mentioned, is if the Caitlyn Alistair can get to lane first, get the shove going, they can really control the pace of the lane, because while yes, Braum and Ash are extremely strong in terms of 2v2 with the amount of CC within their kit, they really lack early game true damage without Rangers focused up on the Ash. And we are going to see Viper Fang does get the smite down, has the red buff, is going to chase Bliss while Jace is trading up with Raynor up in the top lane, but really not going to solve anything too much. But we do see that first smite going down over for Viper.
That's actually really unfortunate because with Viper Fang taking that Scuttle, it let him hit level 3, so he had pressure over Bliss. And now he's actually getting aggroed against his own blue buff, and Viper Fang almost takes it, could have taken it, and Bliss is forced out of his own jungle, which is really good. But we do see that Twiz is nearby, but I think Viper Fang should be fine, or he has to tango his way out of there.
Yeah, he's got to get on those blue stage shoes to get out. I think that Invade was a little bit optimistic because Twiz is going to have the mid lane pressure advantage, but Bliss does have to flash. Rainer's eating a lot of damage from Jace. Nice stun coming across from Twiz. Trouble Bubble is going to land. The burst coming in from Duck Solo. First blood to the Zoe.
Yeah, it's really good rotation. I believe Mammoth overstayed their welcome inside their own jungle. They should have just went back. They realized that Duxel was actually rotating to the topside jungle, and that's not a good thing at all, especially if you're cluttered inside those really small jungle pathways, which makes landing that pink paddle shot on Zoe really easy. So that sets up a really nice first blood for Duxolo, and he has a lead inside this lane already.
Yeah, he gets that early gold so he can get to his next get to that power spike even faster. Still hasn't back to buy with the gold, but I'm assuming with another wave or so should have enough gold for that all-important last chapter. She did also Duck Solo did also take the minion dematerializer, which I think is a very smart choice given he is playing into a Xerath who really wants to play shoving the lane in as much as possible and just keep it to a I'm gonna trade my wave for your wave, and we're never actually gonna fight.
Yeah, most definitely. Things are starting to relax here. I'm not expecting too many skirmishes, except maybe for the pressure over this Mountain Drake. Mountain Drake would be really nice on Mammoth, especially if there's siege composition. That extra damage on to structures is really good for them. So I'm expecting Bliss to try to prioritize and rotate towards the Mountain Dragon, which he is hovering around, but they don't have a secure dragon at all since Graves is up and is heading bot side due to their wards in the blue inside their own jungle.
Yeah, so given both teams like really kind of trying to play defensive around their bottom side of the map, trying to make sure both their bottom lanes have this level of safety zone to really try to farm up and not really deal so much with a lot of trade. When Raynar gets a little bit of a good trade up in that top lane, but the issue is that when Nar's in that mini form, he has so much damage potential available to him if you're not able to completely solo him out. Ooh, but Fang is going in on to Twiz in the jungle. Unfortunately, we go back to the top lane, so we don't actually see if that paddle start ended up connecting, but Twiz did have to end up blowing the flash. So that's a Xerath without flash against Viper Fang and Duck Solo, who have a ton of burst damage on the table once they get those items coming in.
Yeah, it's really good, especially if they burnt that flash off of Twiz, because now Twiz is an easy kill. Yes, he does have cleanse for Bubble Trouble, but that's not going to be enough to escape from someone like Viper Fang or Duck Solo's paddle shot. But we see Trundle has the better 1v1, and that's a nice ultimate fight from Twiz. Picks up a nice easy kill for himself, and Viper Fang was out of position there.
Yeah, it was a little bit too aggressive. The middle minion wave wasn't in position for them to really execute on that invade. That's kind of one of the most important things that I try to stress to junglers is that if you are going for these aggressive invades, you need to make sure your laners are in a position to respond. And given the fact that the Zoe was still around the 1/3 mark towards her side of the lane, she's really not in a position to support Viper Fang. And if it's a melee range fight, it is going to favor the Trundle because the Trundle can steal Graves' AD and make the trade almost always go in his favor. But if Graves can get a kiting situation, that's when it really starts to favor him.
Yeah, most definitely. Bliss on that Trundle is really good. One of the best bruiser champions. Really good at dueling, especially on this composition, because if he chomps on either Ashe or Graves, their AD is reduced by around 30 at max rank, I believe. So that's really good, especially on Ashe, who lacks a bit of ADs. She's mostly focused on attack speed, so if he does land a chomp on her, then she's practically not doing as much damage that she could be, and she's not much of a threat at that point.
However, given the fact that she is going for the percent health build with rushing the early Blade of the Ruin King, losing the AD is not going to be as much of a big of a deal because she will still have that percent HP damage coming in from the Blade of the Ruin King. It'll really only impact her when she's going in for that Ranger's focus. because she's going with lethal tempo. Oh, but the flash Gnar into the wall from Jace. That should be a dead Bliss coming here, but no, they can't get around the wall as the pillar from Bliss keeps him alive. So that is a flash traded jungle for top lane, and I honestly say that has to favor the side of Mammoth given the summoner spells.
Yeah, that's actually really good. It was a really close kill by them. Unfortunately, that's a waste. It wasn't much of a waste since they did burn Blitz's flash, but Jace also did flash to land the ultimate. That's a nice aggression. Now that they know that Trundle's flash is down, they do have a little bit of leeway since Trundle's not as mobile. While he isn't very tanky with his ultimate, in any case, in any scenario where he does need a flash, they do have that option to just kill him since he does not have the mobility that he needs to get away, especially from a crystalline arrow from Ashe.
Yeah, that's always something you do need to be wary of whenever you're in a game with an Ashe, is those cross-map arrows can come out at any time, and if you're not prepared for it, it could very easily spell your death here. But if we're going to take a quick look at the CS totals, everything's pretty much even. There is a little bit of a discrepancy in the bottom lane, but it is Flaydon. Ooh, a big burst going on to Flaydon, but the electrocute comes in, securing the kill. Bliss was trying to solo dragon, but unfortunately, all he is going to get Gray's screen, but he does get hit by the arrow. Ignite plus collateral damage to Gray.
He doesn't have flash.
He flashes into
nice
the bubble,
kill.
but he has the stun. The Sleepy Trouble bubble lands on him, but the stun is going to land onto Flaydon. One more auto coming in into the kill. It's a double kill in the end over to Super Duck. That's a 4-for-0 trade down in the bottom.
Yeah, so looking at that trade, that team fight over there, it's really bad positioning. You have Bliss who's trying to solo Dragon when he has no vision over where Duck Solo is or where the rest of the team of Anarchy is. And so when Twiz gets solo kill, that's just not good at all. That just means that they have no more pressure in case someone tries to collapse them on the Dragon. And we do see a solo kill on Raynor take out Jace, which is surprising, but that just shows how much of a lead he has inside this lane. We see over almost 20 CS above great Jace, and this is first turret gold going over to Anarchy, so it's a nice turn of events for them.
Yeah, the biggest thing as to why we saw that solo kill come across is the fact that Jace on the Gnar is going for the Blade of the Ruin King first item rather than the typical Black Cleaver first, because the Black Cleaver build gives you HP inherently. So even when you're in mini Gnar form, you still have a little bit larger of health pool to deal with the incoming damage. But when you're going Blade of the Ruin King, unless you're able to sustain up, you're really not able to do anything. We are seeing Bliss engaging onto the Rift Herald, is down a level. There is a control ward in the area, but the collapse is a little slow coming in from Duck Solo. Raynor is already here. We have Gnar in the bottom lane. CP Trouble bubble is going to land. We do have Rider the King trying to burst out. Viper Fang is going to force him low. Nice arrow connecting onto Bliss. Immediately takes him off the map. He does still secure the Rift Herald, though, but it's in trade for his life.
Yeah, so at that point, when something like that happens, when you have a Zoe who's 3-0, hold that thought. We do see Flaydon getting collapsed by great Jace here.
Yeah,
he's almost
nice
a Mega
little...
Knight. This is actually a free easy kill. This should not be contested at all. Yep.
Yeah, that was... Sorry.
No worries.
There was a nice little sidestep on the trap coming in from Great Jace, which is what allowed him to get that solo kill, so I do want to give him credit for that. They also get another tower, so Anarchy, I mentioned how important tempo advantage is going to be in this game, and right now, the tempo is in the favor of Anarchy, despite the fact that we did see that Rift Herald going over, and we saw the solo kill up onto Great Jace.
Yeah, so as the game progresses, we see that Anarchy is forcing Mammoth to play reactively, while we see that Mammoth is still trying to make initiative and try to make the first move. Anarchy just has such a strong lead in the mid lane and the bot lane that it forces Mammoth to react on how Anarchy moves in terms of whether they rotate top lane, whether they rotate bot lane. and it causes Mammoth to kind of cluster up, and they're forced to try to counteract whatever Anarchy does, and this allows Anarchy to just have leisure of whether they want to go for a mid lane turret or whether they want to just go for top turret, and this allows them to just have control over this whole game. And unless they get clean aced by Mammoth here, this is just going to be a slow slaughter on the side of Anarchy, and this probably is going to be in the favor of them for game one.
Yes, however, with that Rift Herald take, we can't underestimate the turret taking potential. If they can get a pick or two, they can easily take multiple towers down with that Rift Herald. We're going to see both duo lanes swap over to the mid lane. They're trying to trade positioning on this mid lane tower, and to be honest, considering you can rotate your duo lane and you have Twiz on the Xerath, it's going to be incredibly difficult then to actually take down this last outer tower, especially considering Twiz just picked up a blue.
Yeah, Twiz on that Twiz on that blue buff is really good. Allows him to just kind of spam his own spells and allows him to siege very easily, especially with Rift Herald. I'm not expecting Blitz
Ooh,
to actually
we do have an arrow landing onto Flaydon to engage coming in from me to get stunned under tower. Unfortunately, that is just a crazy collateral damage. Does miss, but the flash from Viper Fang ends up securing the kill onto Twiz. We did see Flaydon dropping on the backside of the screen to duck solo Zoe, and it's just all Zoe all the time. Seeing the Gnar into the wall, as that's going to be a dead Rainer, as that's another 4-for-0 in the favor of Anarchy.
Yeah, so we see that Mammoth is down by 5k, and they continue to aggress against Anarchy as if they're on even ground. But if you don't realize that your opponent has such a strong lead, that's just gonna let you have yourselves be in a position where you just get almost aced and allows your mid lane turret to just go down. So now Anarchy is up by 4 turrets, Mammoth has 0, so they're not able to come back from this. They're forced to pop the Herald. Shelly had to come out a little bit early since she was about to run out, and she's not going to be able to do much.
Ooh, but the flash initiation coming in from Meme is going to be able to secure the kill on the bus driver. Flaydon picking up the kill. We are going to see the Rift Arrows kicked out. Right of the Arcane coming in, securing the kill onto Great Jace. There's more damage coming in from Twiz. They are going to get another charge off on this Herald. I don't know if they'll be able to siege this down, so it might actually end up being a 2-tower for 2 trade in the mid lane, despite the kill advantage going over to the side of Anarchy. They're actually going to be able to get one more charge off, but I don't know if they'll be able to actually break the brace. But they are 5-man strong here. It looks like they're actually going to force this down. An excellent Rift Herald coming in from Mammoth. Bangbuster trying to force the initiation. Arrow lands onto Twiz, gets connected with the Sleepy Trouble Bow. So much pressure, but he misses the W auto as Twiz is able to live on the backside. But no, the collateral damage coming in to secure the kill. Nice call of the Fortune God is able to secure the disengage on the backside. But that is a broken base of Anarchy at 16 minutes. They can't really make a mistake now because that's going to be an easy middle inhibitor fall.
Yeah, so talking about that last team fight and that last push, Mammoth is running a siege composition. Their team fighting by far is far weaker than Anarchy, but when they're able to pick off 2 members of Anarchy, they just have so much seizing potential. You see that Trundle drops Frozen's domain, is able to have so much attack speed and just chomps down the turrets along with Shelly, so that allowed them to get 3 turrets and almost an inhibitor off of that one push just by picking off 2 members of Anarchy. So if they continue to play off of this and realize that their composition isn't meant to team fight, it's rather to just pick off 2 members, go for a push on one lane, and rinse and repeat. That's their only way to win at this point. They can't win off of team fights because Anarchy just has superior team composition. They're just going to get out DPS'd by the Ashe. So they really have to play around that, and they're kind of playing with fire here as we see how they almost overstayed their welcome, but Ornn was able to have a really nice disengage, which saved the day. But we're going to see what their next move is, because right now, Anarchy seems like they're a little bit intimidated by Mammoth, and they're wondering what their next move is going to be in order for Anarchy to try to secure a win as soon as possible, because the longer that Caitlyn's around in this game, the more items she'll have, and she's just going to be able to burst the squishies like Duck Solo and Viper on the Graves. So we really have to look out for Flaydon on her Caitlyn as the game progresses into the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, it's going to be very touch and go for the side of Anarchy because their best source of initiation is Super Duck's Enchanter Crystal Arrow because relying on Great Jace and by Bus Driver to be the initiation is very situational. They're dependent upon having their flashes available, and in the favor of Great Jace, needs to have Meganar available as well. So it's very situational, their initiation potential, when that Enchanted Crystal Arrow is not down. So they really need to play passively until, but we do have the arrow is going to miss on to Flayed on Drace, is a little bit by itself, but the angry Alistair pounds the ground.
Yeah, a little bit of a misplay from Super Duck. Typically with Ashe, you don't want to go for those long-range ultimates. If you do, you're kind of trolling, in my opinion, because that's just so much reliability that you're able to predict and hope that your opponent's not paying attention. This is a best-of-3 match. I don't recommend you do something like that at all. If anything, she should be looking for enchanted crystal arrows, where she's at least not too far from the enemy, but she's not close enough to get bursted down from the team composition. So the ultimate was a bit questionable. I don't think it's on too long of a cooldown, but that kind of messed up their pick that they could have had on either Flaydon or Meme.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was a bad decision. I just say it was optimistic. Because the other side of the point is that those long range arrows do have a significantly longer stun duration. So even if you're not necessarily in the best of position, if you do land that long range arrow, it gives your team plenty of time to collapse. You can get the follow up from Sleep Trouble Bubble. You can get follow up from Viper Fang. Like, it's not like, I'm not saying it's the best use of it, but it's still a use that I would respect because it's showing the fact that you're willing to take these higher risk plays because it's only 100-second cooldown. You're looking at essentially a minute and a half where you really don't have initiation potential outside of situational engage with the Braum ultimate and the Gnar ultimate. So it's fine, especially considering both these teams are really kind of favoring this more ARAM mid style. Neither of them's really executing on these sidelines.
Yeah, most definitely. Something good thing to point out. Well, I would say I kind of disagree. Like, I see what you mean. How it's not so bad of a risk since the cooldown isn't short. But in terms of the value she gets if she does go for longer ultimates, I don't think she needs all the CC from the stun of the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. All she really needs is at least 1 second stun. That's enough time for Zoe to get the Sleepy Bubble Trouble, and from then on, their target should be dead by then. If not, then they're not executing their champions correctly. But you are right on the fact that Mammoth is playing a sort of ARAM style. They're not really getting much out of anything. We see Raynor on the bot side and Trundle slow pushing.
Arrow lands onto me, does use the ultimate to disengage. The Glacial Fisher does miss a little bit off to the side here. That was both cooldowns burned, as well as flash and ultimate coming in from being Bus Driver. It does force the support from the side of Anarchy really low, and they're going to try to rush down the Baron. They have Raynor down in the bottom lane. He is out of vision. That actually, Bliss is actually in base, but can they get enough damage coming in from the right of the Arcane? Sleepy Bubble is going to land onto me, is going to get bursted out by Duxilla, but they are going to have to drop off the Baron as they don't really have a true tank. They are still keeping leash. Heal comes out from Super Duck. Super Duck just might die to Baron. He is actually going to die to Baron, as Twiz actually gets credit to the kill. A lot of damage coming in on the back side. Raynor has come in, is going to go in with the Call of the Forge God, is going to get a double knockup. That should be 2 kills coming in. Nice pillar flash coming in from Bliss. That's actually going to be 3 kills going over to Mammoth, and that was the mistake coming in from Anarchy. That's going to be a middle inhibitor falling because of a poor Baron call coming in from Anarchy.
So that Baron call was ridiculous. The fact that they went for it, knowing that Twiz was still up, knowing that Flaydon was still up, knowing that Ornn was within the vicinity, they can't do it that fast. Yes, they do have Ashe and Zoe, but that's still not fast enough. And when you're inside a Baron pit, that's just begging Xerath to just pop his ultimate off, because at that point you're just fishing a barrel. So that's a huge mistake that Anarchy makes, and this might cost them game here. While Mammoth didn't get Baron, it still allowed him to have a huge tempo lead. Meme re-engaging on top of Viper, and Viper might go down here. Oh, Kobe. Yep. Xerath picks up the kill off of Viper.
Fortunately, they were actually able to save their middle inhibitor off of that play, but considering the fact that Jace was not there initially, and you don't really have anyone suitably available to tank the Baron because everyone is squishy on the side of Anarchy. So I think the choice to do Baron, unless I understand there was changes to Baron, that the damage was split up. But given the fact that your Graves only had Stormrazor at the time, doesn't have a lot of attack speed, can't take the Baron down very quickly. Zoe, not a great Baron taker. Ashe is probably your best champion at DPSing down the Baron, but she's not terribly strong. She's only sitting at that 2 items. Like, we're going to see an Ocean Drake come over, which I think is still a decent Drake to have if you are the side of Mammoth, because of the fact you are a siege composition. Ocean Drake is always best against and with siege composition.
Yeah, most definitely. That's a good dragon from them. That's the first dragon they've had. Uh, at this point, we're sitting at 24 minutes. From what I can predict, within the next 10 minutes, I'm expecting for Mammoth to at least get another huge win in a team fight. And from then on, they should be able to just steamroll down mid lane and should be able to end around 34 minutes. Then again, things go wrong with my predictions, and I could probably put a caster curse, and Anarchy's only option of winning is to really get a nice clean ace and not go for Baron.
They've gotten 2 4 zeros, so it's not something that's not in the cards. Like, they've gotten 2 very clean team fights already. It's just the issue is that the team fights they've lost have been from overstaying and mispositioning. So as long as they can rein in their aggression and play things a little bit more slow, I think they are most certainly capable of winning this game. It's going to come down to whoever takes Baron. Ooh, Viper is going to eat quite a few shots from the right of the arcade, is going to die to the auto attack, but they did use Call of the Forge God, so that really limits their ability to continue on and look for another play, because that is their prime initiation tool. But with the enemy jungler dead, it means they can start Baron.
Yeah, they still have a lot of pressure. They still have Alistar ultimate to tank up all the damage. They still have Trundle ultimate to go back in there and soak up any of the tank stats on the side of Anarchy. So they're in a good spot here. It's still risky to do Baron since Ashe just ults down there, hits a 2-man crystalline arrow, or Zoe just throws Bubble Trouble and tries the 1-shot. Doesn't quite get it, but it does force Mammoth to get off his Baron here. Trundle ultimate does go off on Gnar. He is going for a kill. Gnar gets a 2-man ultimate.
Yeah,
takes out
nice initiation from Jace. They are going to be able to clean up this fight as there's just too much damage on the backside. Another Trouble Bubble is going to land onto Twiz. He is going to go into the Zanyas, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to save his life. And with Viper Fang back alive, that should actually be the Baron coming in. I think they have enough DPS to burst it down at this point. They have Bang Bus Drivers Unbreakable to help soak up the damage. They should be able to burst it down. Finally, as eventually the Baron is killed, despite both teams trying it multiple times in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, most definitely. That's going to be their kind of Achilles heel at this point. Those risky Baron calls that are really 50-50 are some of those calls that you should never go for at all. While this is still game 1, it's still something you don't want to give a lead to your opponent in this best of 3 series. So them playing around Baron like that is very dangerous, but at the end, Anarchy comes out ahead. And with Baron buff, we have to see how they're going to play around this. Are they going to split themselves amongst each other? Or are they just going to play ARAM, run it down mid, hope that Baron minions are going to be enough to take down the inhibitor turret and the inhibitor on the side of Mammoth here? And we do see a pause. While we are on pause, what are your thoughts on what the next couple of minutes where Baron buff is still active? What do you expect Anarchy to be doing?
What I would like Anarchy to do is I would like them to 1-3-1 and have Viper Fang and Jace in the side lanes, and then have Duck Solo Super Duck and Bang Bus Driver in the mid lane, because you can't still really siege into the composition that Mammoth had even with Baron buff, because they have Xerath, who still does a lot of wave clear. They have Caitlyn as well. There's still a lot of wave clear available if you're just trying to brute force at 5v5. You need to peel apart the composition from Mammoth and put multiple pressure points on the map in order to try to set up a potential play of breaking the base, because you really can't dive the enemy team with the composition you have. Plus the fact if you're just 5-man brute forcing on the tower, you open yourself up to a massive initiation from Raynor on the Ornhorn. So you always need to be very wary of how you yourselves are stacking up. So it's why I want to see them spread out the map, peel everyone from Mammoth apart, as I always said, and put multiple pressure points down so they can break as many towers as possible without beating their skulls against this mid lane inhibitor like I see most of my solo QTs do.
Yeah, most definitely. We do see that Ash went back with around 3,100 gold. So she's going to be picking up a nice, huge power spike. Let's see what she actually picks up. Right now, she does have
she
Blade
doesn't quite have enough for IE.
So
which would be kind of like the
actually,
big...
She actually did pick up IE. There we go. So with that power spike, that's actually really strong. It does double the critical chance and converts it into true damage, which is really nice against the composition of Mammoth. It's gonna shred down Meme very quickly, along with Raynor. So her picking up IE is really good for them, and we're gonna see how they're actually going for maybe a 4-1 with Jace just pushing down bot lane. It's not as efficient, but we're seeing how they're going to be able to push down mid lane turret against the siege composition that Mammoth does have.
I mean, they do have good wards covering a couple of their flank positions, so it's going to be hard for Raynor unless he's right up in the face. We do have the Unbreakable Will and the Flash being forced out of Meme, so that does inhibit a lot of their initiation potential. We do have the minion wave finally getting to tower. We are going to have Redemption coming in. I do believe that was from the W coming in on Zoe. We do have Great Jace, still quite hasn't gotten up to the tower. We have right out there Kane and the Ace in the hole coming in, trying to get poke damage down. Big Boss Driver and Duck Solo are both extremely low, because they're both eating a lot of poke. That is going to force the reset. And this is kind of what I mean, is you can't really try to brute force. You have to play the rotation game into the composition that Mammoth had drafted.
Yeah, at this point, Mammoth's goal is to wear out the Baron buff. They want to wait it out, and once Baron buff wears off, that's when they go for a fight. Even though it's not optimal for them, they're going to look to either pick off Super Duck or Duck Solo. Once they do that, they basically have the fight in the bag, and that could be game in the end. But we're looking to see here, we see 3 people pushing down mid lane, but Dragon is coming up soon. It is what I presume to be another Mountain Drake.
Yes, it is Mountain.
So that's really good for them, especially if they have Baron buff. That's just going to shred right through those turrets, and it's going to get the lead that Anarchy needs to get a lot of value out of this Baron buff, because right now they haven't gotten much out of it other than applying pressure. But pressure is only useful when you get objectives out of this. Right now, Anarchy needs to be pressuring to get these turrets. They need to at least pick off the inhibitor turret down mid lane and at least get one inhibitor. If they get that,
Flaydom just gets eviscerated, as does Meme, as that Graves damage was absolutely disgusting.
Viper Fang looking to initiate 1v2. That's not what you want to do. Forces the flash, but he's not going to be able to kite out. Maybe he is able to. Blizz is going to go down. Flash is on top. Moore's going to pick up the kill right here. Bang Bus Driver is not looking like he's having to fly in the front seat of the car here. He's on his way out. Yeah, that's not where you want to be.
Yeah, a little bit optimistic coming in. Bang Bus Driver does have his boost fake shoes out, so is able to dodge out. We do see a little bit of a burst damage going on to Raynor. We have Great Jace up in the side lane, but they're not really going to get much out of the Baron. They didn't get any... No, they might eventually secure the top lane tier 2, but they only get 1 tower down.
That's still pretty good. They do trade 1-for-1 in terms of junglers. That's not worth, in my opinion, especially if you waste so much utility and so much resources for that. But in the end, they did get top turret, which is a lot of pressure for them to have, and this secures a Mountain Drake, because right now Mammoth is occupied from securing their base and keeping the minion waves pushed up in their favor. And having Mammoth Drake is really nice on Anarchy, especially if they're trying to look to end the game soon here. We're almost approaching 34 minutes here. At that point, I expected the game to be over, but this might be looking like a 40-minute game if Mammoth is able to hold out longer than we expected. So we're hoping to see whether Mammoth is able to make a comeback here, because right now, Anarchy is looking like a huge threat for them, as the Ash is still accumulating and gathering a lot of gold here. I presume she's actually building Guardian Angel, which is really nice, keeping her in those team fights a little bit longer in case she gets picked off.
I mean, but you do also have to see is that the Caitlyn's at the same 3-item threshold as the Ashe right now, due to the CS disadvantage. And if Caitlyn gets free time, the amount of damage that's going to come in with those Storm Rangers procs, with those headshot procs, plus the fact that she's got a Night's Vow, she's got a Zeke's Convergence on her. She's got so much damage amp available to her that if she's able to get free time in a team fight, it's not going to be a fun time. You do have great Jace down in the bottom lane split pushing right now. That's kind of where you need him to be, but he is going to be running out of Meganar here momentarily, so he's not going to be able to teleport in for an initiation potential for an extended period of time. So can Mammoth actually take advantage of that, as the Baron's going to be respawning here in 50 seconds?
Yeah, I'm expecting Mammoth to try to look to take Baron, while Anarchy is probably going to pressure Baron as well. They're going to posture over it, because from the looks of it, it seems like whichever team gets it, if Anarchy gets Baron, it's practically game over for Mammoth. If Mammoth gets Baron, then it gives them a lot more breathing room, allows them to reestablish and reset themselves so that they're able to have a chance at winning this game. Well, they still do. There's only so much you can do in terms of stalling out games, and there's going to be a point in time where you kind of just collapse and allow yourself to leave yourself open, which allows Team Anarchy to get that little bit of an edge they need to ace or practically get 4 members killed on the side of Mammoth.
I mean, if either team gets the Baron, I'm pretty sure that's just the end of the game, because you do still have to remember there's an exposed middle inhibitor for the side of Anarchy. So if the side of Mammoth is able to secure that, that's probably this game. We do have the trouble bubble and the arrow landing onto the bottom lane. A massive amount of burst damage comes out, but the damage coming out of the Xerath, unfortunately, slightly missed times, but he's still going to get the kill for the final shot of the right of the Arcane. But it's a 1-for-1 trade. It's 80 carry for support, and in that case, you'd honestly have to say it favors Mammoth.
Yeah, Twiz with those nice 3-pointers throughout the whole game, really giving his team a lot of breathing room, especially with that Xerath poke, which is very nice. The fact that they picked off Super Duck is really good for them. It means that a lot of Anarchy's damage is down. Yes, they do have Zoe, who does a lot of burst damage, but right now Anarchy needs a lot of consistent DPS damage, especially in this team fight. And since Baron is up, Mammoth has so much pressure over Baron right now. They have to wait at least another 5 seconds for Super Duck to come back. But with Flaydon heading back to base, actually, that little bit of an edge they had over Anarchy is kind of nullified, since Caitlyn is going back to base, so she's not going to be here when they're posturing over Baron.
Having minor technical difficulties.
So they are not necessarily posturing over Baron. Both teams are still playing ARAM. Man, I wish I could play ARAM, but yes, they're still posturing over ARAM, where the top laners are hovering over the bot side. Raynor still wants to try to push the bot lane wave, whereas actually, look at that. Mammoth is actually going to look to try to take Baron here, or at least set it up. They don't have all the vision they'd like over it. They need to clear all these wards here, because man, did Anarchy do a good job putting a lot of wards there. But at this point, they're still hovering over it. It's kind of playing like, it's like the tango, you know? You kind of tango with your opponent, and whoever kind of slips up first, then that's when you kind of collapse onto that. But as we see, actually, that's a really nice rotation here. Applying pressure on this top lane turret that has yet to go down here. This is pretty good for Mammoth. It kind of baits out for Anarchy to maybe look to take a move over the Baron pit, but that's a free turret. No lives were lost during that whole move over there. Meanwhile, we do see Anarchy looking. Actually, never mind. Look at that. Viper Fang with the nice rotation backdoor. He's going to get this nice free inhib. What is Mammoth doing? We see Raynor challenging the Viper Fang. Viper Fang just dashes past Raynor. Gets knocked up here. Oh, Twiz with the Kobe Bryant. Is he getting at the three-pointer? No, he's not. Quite out of range here. Horn pops the ultimate, being able to knock up Viper here. And Raynor gets a nice kill over here. Oh, great. Jace is not in a good position at all. Meme does not get his CC off. So Jace is fine, but look at that. With Viper Fang getting taken down and then being distracted at their own base, this allows for Anarchy to pick up this nice Baron. This is so good for Anarchy. This allows them to have that pressure and that tempo they needed. This is like second win for them. So with them having Baron, they really need to use this wisely since they do have Inhibitor down. They have so much potential to just run it down mid, look to pick off either Flaydon or Twiz, and at that point, once those two targets go down, then it's over. But we do see that Mammoth is posturing over this Elder Drake. Elder Drake is really nice. It's not so good on them since they didn't pick up so many dragons throughout the game. But if, per se, Anarchy were to pick it up, that'd be really nice since they do have 3 dragons on their heads. So we'll see whether or not they're actually going to try to contest this, or Mammoth is just going to do their best to reestablish their lanes and make sure that their lanes aren't going to get shoved into their own base. Actually, this is going to be a free Elder Drake for Anarchy, unless Flaydon is able to do something at all. Oh, she steals it with the Caitlyn Q. Wow, was that a mess up? Smite Vicious, is that you? Viper Fang really woofing. Never mind, he's actually far away from Dragon, but he totally woofed that. Anarchy totally should not have done that. They probably should have tried to at least kill Flaydon before going for the Dragon, but the fact that Team Mammoth was able to pick up that Elder was so nice for them, and we see that the bot lane, the bot side of Anarchy is trying to focus on this bot lane turret. They want to get some usage out of this Baron buff, but as time diminishes, their window of opportunity is starting to go away here.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had computer problems. So the joys of first world problems. Okay, yeah. So we are gonna have a little bit of initiation coming in. Bang Bus Driver is gonna be. We do have a massive combo, and Call is a Fortune coming in. Meme is doing what he can in the front line, trying to disengage, but the burn is gonna come in, securing the kill onto Viper Fang. We have a lot of damage coming in from Great Jace, Super Duck, and Godzilla, but there's just not enough damage. There's too much damage on the table from the Elder Dragon Bird. They're going to be able to secure the ace here. A little bit of poke landing from Viz. Can they get another pillar coming in to get the kill? No, they are not, as Jace is going to force them away, but they get 4 kills for 2. So a great team fight coming in from the side of Mammoth.
That was a bit questionable. We did see Flaydon flash forward. He pulls a wild turtle, cost him his own life, but great chase. Nice 1v1 there. Takes out Bliss. That's really good for them. Almost a minute timer for him to respawn here, which is really nice. But the fact that Anarchy almost gets aced is not looking so good for them. We did see minions almost take out a Nexus turret, but it's not going to be enough. I believe Baron's off out of everyone. Yeah, Baron is down on the side of Anarchy. So at this point, they got to really play a little bit of a gamble here. See who bites the bullet first. And whoever bites the bullet first has a really good advantage here. Let's hope that Flaydon does not go aggro and thinks that they are the tank, because Flaydon should have been in the backline that whole fight. If he didn't die so quickly, that would have been a clean ace from Mammoth, and that probably would have been game, but it happens to the best of us.
I mean, you do have to give a lot of credit. Like, that initiation from Meme and Raynor was what set up that team fight, because you had like a 4-man headbutt pulverize combo coming in from Meme, and you can't really count on that to happen in every team fight, because I'm pretty sure if you don't have that level of initiation, you don't get Viper Fang out of the fight immediately, because, well, yes, the scoreline isn't the greatest. That's a 300 farm Graves. They're trying to push down onto this middle inhibitor. We do have the side split. Viper Fang was split pushing in the bottom lane as Super Ductus gets blown up. He's going to get locked up by the trap and immediately taken out by the headshot crit coming in from the trap.
That's gonna
It's
be
really
game
going
here,
to be
actually.
is really going to be whether or not Viper Fang can do anything down in this bottom lane. He is doing a lot of damage to Blitz, but the ultimate is healing him back up. We do have the right of the Arcane and doing a fair bit of damage. They do have a minion wave here. Viper Fang is still chasing Bliss. They do have minions coming in because the super minions for the side of Anarchy have despawned. We do have the Call of Fortune coming in. Only lands onto Jace. It's going to get the ultimate back, but it's not going to matter because nobody's following up. So much damage in the backside. Dunk Soul is almost dead, gets sniped out by the Arcanobros. Viper Fang is finally back into the base. What can he do? 1v4. He gets a crit onto Meme. It's 1 versus 3. What can he do? Flashes and gets the kill onto Flaydon. Viper Fang 1v4 is going to be able to secure the kill onto Twiz. Triple kill coming in. Can he secure the quadra kill? No, Minions 2 OP. Enchanted Crystalero just barely misses, but the last auto is going to come in from Viper Fang with the man-mode base defense coming in. Dear
Wow, did someone call circus? Because was that a clown fiesta? The fact that wow, Mammoth should have just ended right there. The fact that Twiz was going for kills when he could have just looked up at his team. This is not good at all.
What are you doing?
Wow, on the side of Mammoth, this really confuses me. They had the opportunity to just end the game right then and there. They had, if they just grouped together, attack the turrets individually and then the Nexus, that might have been enough. Maybe not, but even so, the fact that Twiz was just taking turret shots, looking to get some extra kills under his pocket, really caused him to kind of throw here and gave Viper Fang the opportunity he needed, and that's a nice pentakill. But we really have to ask ourselves, what's next on the side of each team here? Because this game is so close.
More blood. That's for sure on the table as everyone's getting to that all-important 6-item mark where gold really isn't starting to matter. Really the only champions who really have position to grow are going to be the supports and the top laners. You do still have 1 item slot available on both AD carries, but they pretty much have their core items completed. It's really going to be up to who really decides where they go with their final item. It looks like we're going to see lifesteal coming from Caitlyn. We are going to see the classic Fnatic Death Brush, but I'm pretty sure they know where each other is. Raynor is going to be the bait. Eats so much burst damage, it's immediately taken off the map, but the 3-man Heppo Polaris combo is massive on the backside of the fight. Jace is doing what he can in the backside, is able to keep the team safe in the backside with the front line dead. Can they secure the Baron? Right now the Arcane's going to do so much damage. Super Duck is almost dead because he tapped all the turn shots and his team takes all the honey food from him. So they're actually not going to be able to secure the Baron as they have 2 massive minion waves crashing. They have 1 down to the bottom lane and then super minions, but Viper Fang just blows up Twiz. Twiz apparently is feeling frazzled, as I don't understand why he was there.
Yeah, at this point, it seems like Viper Fang kind of had enough of being beat around by Mammoth here. He kind of just said, enough, I'm going to 1v. I don't care if my teammates are all dead, I'll just kill all of you. And by the looks of it, Viper Fang seems like he's out for blood. He does not want to give this win up so easily, but wow, this played on do so much damage.
Yeah, Viper Fang trying to burst down Meme. They are going to secure the kill. Super Duck is going to get the kill on the backside. Raynor cancels his teleport as well as Super Jace's. Both top players cancel. It's a race for the bases. Anarchy is forcing down Min, is able to secure the game 1 victory in a very back and forth 46-minute game.
I wouldn't jinx it. There is a chance. Never mind. Flaydon getting stunned and CC. This game's practically over. Let's hope it's over. Let's not throw. There we go.
Yeah, it was a little bit tense from both sides just to see how the end of the game was going to come across here, but I think Viper Fang just decided he was enough. I'm late game Graves. I'm killing your whole team.
Yeah, that was a good job on Viper. Really, that was really clutch of him to do. He stuck out. He did not give up, despite the fact that minions and members of Mammoth were just cracking down on his Nexus turret. He did not let him open the gates at all. He said, "You shall not pass." and Mammoth did not pass game one at all. Anarchy picking up game one over this series here. So now Mammoth is under huge flames. I'm not sure how they're handling that, especially if they were so close to victory, but they managed to just kind of throw it out the window.
I mean, I think once Flaydon got picked off in that push, they should have immediately stopped trying to end. Because without the Caitlyn, I don't know if they have the damage to actually end the game. So had they choose just to back off and reset after Caitlyn died, they might have been able to push down mid lane once everyone responded and try to end the game. But they chose to try to go for the end without their AD carry. And that was just a little bit of a suspect play coming in. I mean, a lot of credit does have to go to Duck Solo who did so much work early on in the game and had so many great bubbles, but I still didn't feel like he did a ton in the team fights. He was great at securing picks, but in terms of team fight potential, I felt like there was a lot left to be desired from us.
Yeah, most definitely. Actually, consistently, if I were to give an MVP to, it'd be Viper Fang. The fact that while he was behind a lot and he did throw by not smiting that Elder Dragon, he still pulled up. He did not.
Actually, I think he smited. He just missed.
Well,
I
yeah,
think
I mean,
it fell to like 160 HP or something.
I wasn't even sure he smited though, because it didn't. I don't think he did.
I thought he did, but it was down to like 100 HP when she stole it. So
Yeah, very crazy by Flaydon, but uh, Dragon Steals aren't going to be enough to win you games. Well done by both teams here. We are waiting for game two to commence, but
yes, we're going to take a short little break, let the teams recuperate, let ourselves recuperate before we're back with the second game of this best of three series match point over to Anarchy. Or will we see Mammoth respawn, regroup, and force a decisive game number 3? Stay tuned. And welcome back, everyone, to game number 2 of the Overdrive League Gold Division quarterfinal match between Anarchy and Mammoth. We saw a very back and forth game coming in from the first game, with Anarchy eventually taking the victory after a pentakill coming in from Viper Fang. They ended up winning the game off of a succeeding push here, but neither team really looked solid in either performance. I feel like that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, the game was interesting to say the least. The turn of events was very surprising, especially the fact that Mammoth were so close, yet that one misplay really led to their demise. But they took a little bit break. They had hopefully a motivational pep talk by their captains, and we'll see how Mammoth adapts to this second game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the bands will adapt at all. I'm assuming we're probably going to see the Graves band coming in at Viper Fang, but I also wouldn't be surprised if that band did trickle through as well. So we're actually going to see a slight change. We're going to see LeBlanc be the first band coming in from Anarchy. I'm pretty sure they didn't actually ban that in
They
the
banned it
previous game.
first. Yeah, they did. Yep, it was first ban.
Yeah, my memory's not perfect. I apologize. Whatever. I'm a monkey.
It's okay. That's why you have me.
Yeah, that's why everyone casts in duos. So even if one person screws up, it's still fine because the other person's supposed to cover for that.
And if both forget, it must have not been important enough.
Exactly. It's all part of the master plan here. We're going to see Yasuo and Gragas once again coming in. They really don't want what I assume is supposed to be Duck Solo's Yasuo onto the Rifts. So it's a little bit interesting that we're seeing such a high ban priority on that champion, especially considering there are things that do extremely well into it.
I mean, based on what I've seen in the first game, it seems to me that Mammoth aren't too sure when they're able to end, and the Yasuo ban is beneficial for their playstyle since Yasuo benefits a lot from long drawn out games. So he's able to hit the power spike no matter how many deaths he has. He's still relevant as long as he hits 4 to 5 item power spike. We also see the Echo ban. Not really relevant in the mid lane, but it might have just been a champion pool ban, a target ban for maybe Duck Solo. Maybe we'll see a Zoe ban. Actually, we see the Graves ban. They did not enjoy the 1v9 Graves put on. It was quite a show, if I do say so the least. But because of that
leaves up Zoe again.
Yeah, they just let Anarchy get a first pick Zoe right off the draft.
I mean, they didn't pick Zoe until 4th pick last time, so they might have thought potentially they wouldn't have first picked it, but considering how strong that Solo looked on the Zoe, it doesn't surprise me that they're choosing to lock that in with the first pick. What are they going to respond to with? And they're going to pick up the Alistar once again for me.
Yeah, Meme did decent on his Alistar in game 1. It wasn't spectacular, but it was consistent. It wasn't enough, but hopefully them first picking Alistar doesn't result in Anarchy just totally counter picking Alistar, picking those champions that are able to kite him out or keep him away from their team. We also see the Nunu hover, and it actually turns out to be the Sejuani locked in. I like the Sejuani composition since Mammoth did have a really good team fighting potential in the first game. The fact that they have Sejuani allows them to have the Glacial Prison, which is really good, picking off someone like an Ashe or a Zoe.
I mean, they're going to once again lock in the Ashe Braum for their bottom lane here. I would expect to see if their mid lane choice here, just so that way they can still hold on to their AD carry pick, and B, they avoid potentially banning out Twizz's picks here. So we're going to see the Ahri into the Zoe. I think it's a pretty good matchup for the Ahri, and Twizz did have a lot of game impact in the previous game because anytime Zoe portal jumps, she's going to be going in a straight line, so it's extremely easy to land the charm if you're Arya.
Yeah, it's really just up for Twizz to be careful on his positioning, because if he's out of position, concussive blows from Braum or an Ashe arrow is just going to be enough to take him out.
I mean, He is on Ari this time. He gets three free flashes when his ultimate is available. So he does have a little bit more mobility than he did in the previous game here. Seeing the Darius ban coming in, being taken away from Jace up in the top lane, as well as the Nocturne once again being banned away here. And I'm curious to see where Viper Fang's going to go for, considering he had such a farm heavy style in game number one, because he had the top CS of the game.
Hello. Yeah, it was, in terms of what Viper was putting out, I'm not relatively sure what his champion pool is looking like, but I'm really digging how their composition is looking. They do have the Freylord bottom lane, which we do see that Flaydon is actually going to roll with the Varus bot lane, which is really good. I like Varus in the sense that he's a late game champion. That's how these games are going to turn out. These games are going to drag on forever because there's always a comeback in these types of games here. And if there's one ADC you want for the late game, it's Varus, especially once he hits those full build, power spike. But we see Draven, oh, that's just the troll playing bus driver, giving us a bit of a laugh here, hovering over the Draven.
Yeah, he did that in game number one. Here we're going to see the Jax could go over to Viper Fang, could go over to Jason the jungle. Does give them a little bit more of a flex pick. However, with their last pick coming in here, it's going to be the Dr. Mundo. I'm always a fan of Dr. Mundo, especially right now, considering how strong he is and the amount of damage he can pick up. Fortunately for the side of Mammoth, though, Varus' E-Hailed arrows does have Grievous Wounds built into it. So even in those early on fights before the Executioner callings come in, they do have a lot of fixability, and it's going to be a Garen for Reyna in the top lane.
Yeah, the Mammoths just say, you know what? Forget it. We're going to spin to win. So they lock in the Garen. So with this Mundo pick, I'm expecting Morel Nomicon and something out of Varus, probably the Executioner Blade. That's really good on him. In terms of the composition, looking over at Anarchy, they have a really good high damage composition, but they're relying a lot on Dr. Mundo to stay in those team fights and not die as fast. So it comes down to whether Dr. Mundo is either even or ahead in his lane. If he's behind, then he's not going to be the tank that they need. And it gives so much of an advantage over to Mammoth.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this game is really going to end up playing out, because if Viper Fang gets to that late game Jax, there's nothing to stop him from popping off like he did in the last game on the Graves, because Jax is just as terrifying in the late game as Graves is, albeit with a little bit less damage output, but he gives a little bit more frontline, and considering his big target's going to be the enemy Varus, he's not really the most mobile of champions. Everyone else does have a little bit of stop potential for the Jax, but if he could get to Varus, it just might be enough.
He has a lot to go through to get to the Varus. You have Alistar with the headbutt, the knockup, the pulverize, Garen with the silence, Ari with the charm. There's just so much he has to avoid. There's also Sejuani ultimate, which is so strong to zone out Anarchy. So in order for them to reach Varus, they have a lot to go through. And it really just depends whether or not Braum is able to set up nice glacial fissures in order for them to engage on Team Mammoth.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit difficult for Viper Fang on the Jax, but they do still have a lot of initiation with their bottom lane. They have big potential with Doug Solo, and they have Mundo. And Mundo is arguably one of the most terrifying champions in the late game, if he can get there. Just because you can't ever actually kill him. Like, he'll just sit in the middle of your team with W on, and he'll just regen health because you can't actually kill him. And there really isn't a lot of tank shred coming in from the side of Mammoth, at least inherently within the champion kits. Yes, we'll probably see the Ludens and Morellos coming in from the Ari just because she really, really likes the spell pen. We're going to see the Executioners coming in from Flaydon, but it's going to be really interesting to see how this Garen ends up playing out, because is he going to be going the full AD Garen that I've heard mythos about, where you go Black Cleaver, Sterix, Gage, and Triforce, and then just sit in the sideline the entire game and never group? Or is he going to go Black Cleaver into straight tank? It's really a lot up to Raynor because we saw him pick up a solo kill in the last game.
Yeah, Raynar the Garen is a bit questionable. I don't see a lot of purpose from Garen other than the fact that he is another tank on the side of Mammoth, but they already have Sejuani. If he's only useful if Raynar is able to get to the back line of Anarchy, but even then, Bubble Trouble and the Jackstun, along with Braum, is already so much to deal with, along with the Mundo Cleaver. So both these tanks that on each side have so much to deal with. I just don't think Garen's going to prove much use unless he gets ahead. So it really comes down to whether Bliss is able to set up Raynor with a couple kills in the top lane or how they play this out. It's really anyone's game here. It's kind of just throwing up the dice, but Anarchy has a 1-0 lead. This is match point for them unless Mammoth is able to make a really good comeback and take down Anarchy and make it to game 3.
I mean, anything can honestly happen. Like, we saw the last game where neither team actually wanted to win the game until Mammoth's Nexus finally explodes. So we really can't draw too much conclusion here. Though we do have to comment that the early game did go over to Anarchy in the previous game. So we definitely need to keep that in mind as we are going into game number 2 here. They were able to get the early snowball advantage. It's just they struggled a little bit come 25 to about 35 minutes in terms of keeping themselves safe and learning when to stop overcommitting on the towers, because that's where they saw the team fights go wrong, is when they overcommitted to objectives and they got punished extremely heavily by Raynor and Meme, who had multiple multi-man knockups with the ultimates and the combos.
Yeah, so we are loading into the Rift here. Game 2 is on its way, commencing already.
Yes, we are on to the Rift, as you said, for game number 2 here. Anarchy is going to be swapping over to the blue side for this game, and on the red side is going to be Mammoth here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a similar 4-man stack coming in from Anarchy, though they are going to get spotted.
Yeah, they already spotted by that nice ward already. Mammoth don't want to mess around too early on like before, since Anarchy has such a strong level 1. Like last game with Braum, concussive blows just gives you that much of an edge for those early invades.
Yeah, Braum is arguably the strongest level 1 champion in the game, with his ability to stack his passive on multiple champions. And his long range slow is very reliable. Plus, you have additional slows coming in from Super Duck if anything lands. So it should be a little bit of a better 2v2 matchup, at least initially, for Flaydon and Meme, even though we did see them have tempo advantage for a majority in the bottom lane. Due to the fact that they did have the Caitlyn, they did have a CS advantage, and they did have shove advantage. But at least in this game, they have the ability to potentially look for all-in plays, which they didn't have in the last game, due to me not having flash for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, so that is something to point out here. Just standard. Both junglers starting off on the bottom side of their own jungles, so we're going to see maybe one of them is going to contest for that top side Scuttle Crab. That's going to really show who's going to have a bit of a lead in terms of jungling. And they're just going to go ahead and lane. Nothing too fancy here. What I do want to talk about is the 2v2 matchup in terms of the bot lane. We have Braum and Ashe, who we've seen as fairly strong. And then we see Varus and Alistar. Varus is able to do a lot of poke. I'm not sure if Flaydon's going for lethality Varus or just the standard on-hit Varus.
He's going on hit, considering he went lethal tempo. So I'm assuming it's on hit.
Let's hope it's on
the
hit.
level 2 coming in, a little bit of a trade.
Yeah, that's the second time that we see that Mammoth's bot lane hits level 2 before Anarchy's bot lane, and it really goes to show how this duo has a lot of practice together, and they're just able to prioritize on that level 2 power spike before their opponents hit level 2, which is really good.
I mean, if they're able to get the early shove advantage, I mean, Varus does have more AoE clear than the Ashe, at least in terms of cooldown, because the volley only hits the first layer of targets, while the Varus E, if you choose to start that piercing arrow, if you choose to start that, can hit an entire wave.
Yeah. So Ash still has a CS advantage here. Hopefully Flaydon is able to last hit those minions, just point and click. We do see Bliss secure the Rift Scuttler here as well. Raynor is actually looking for a fight with Viper Fang. Viper Fang could be in a bit of trouble, but good old Mundo. But the Flash Charm really not going to hit anything. Totally whiffs it. Twiz
Just a bit
just a little bit too
outside.
ambitious.
It was just a bit outside, but they do still have tempo advantage to try to secure this buff, as Mundo is stuck under his tower. They should be able to secure this blue buff coming in here. It is going to go over, so we do see Trouble Bubble is going to land on the backside. We're going to see a little bit of damage coming in. Reinhardt is a little bit out of position. Flash Stun does come in, does still have the Q to try to get away. We do have the slow coming in from the Cleavers. Flash coming in. Oh, he needs one more Cleaver. Not off cooldown, but it is a flash trade top laner for jungle in the end. Plus, we did see the, actually both of them actually did flash, so it's actually 2 flashes for 2 flashes, and nobody dies.
Yeah, Great Jay's doing some work on that Mundo. He does establish a lane dominance, forces Garen to TP, so now he has a teleport advantage over Raynor. So Great Jays does have the opportunity to TP bot lane, look for a 3v2, or TP mid lane in case things get a little bit nasty over there. And Raynor really just has to find his way back into this lane, because now Mundo, never mind, he's actually going to go back, which is decent. He could have just stayed a little bit longer, since he is Mundo.
I know, but he did have a little bit of an item discrepancy. He evens out the items, gets additional vision control. He's going to choose the TP back, which I find is pretty typical. We generally don't see teleports being safe for cross-map play. It's generally all about whether or not you can establish lane control more than anything else.
Yeah, having lane control gives you so much tempo, but we see Bliss hovering around topside jungle. They really want to shut down Raynor, because they realize that if they shut down Raynor, Raynor just starts to disappear as a champion. He's not relevant unless he's either ahead or he's even, much like Mundo in the sense. But Bliss says no dice, doesn't go for it anyways, and nothing too much is going to go on here. I'm not expecting it to, not until either junglers are going to pressure for this dragon here. It is mountain dragon. It's nothing like an infernal dragon, but it is something that you do want to pick up.
I mean, any Drake in the early game is good, because if you can keep Drake control after that, you can provide a lot of potential with later game Infernal Drakes, and that's kind of why Mundo's an impressive top laner, because you can't ever actually trade effectively into him, is because he gets more AD with his E. When he gets low, you're eating cleavers to the face 24/7, which do percent current health damage. It's just so difficult to actually deal with as a champion, even when you're playing like an aggressive champion like a Garen.
Yeah, so we do see Mundo needs to stop being on the phone and focusing on CS. We do see Garen has a slight CS advantage over Mundo here, despite the fact that he was forced out of lane early, and he's going in for a trade here. He's actually getting a really nice trade, gets the grass proc, leaves Great Jace kind of having to stay in the back lane, which prevents him from getting much experience. So overall, it's a really nice trade for Raynor. It just shows how even the lane is, but it shows that Raynor's also hits level 6 before Great Jace. But now they're both level 6, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah. And I mean, in all honesty, nothing's really going to come out of that lane. As you said earlier, without jungle intervention, barring one of the two misplaying, because you have the ultimate coming in for Mundo, you have the passive coming in from Garen. Both of those are pretty much always going to be sitting on a high HP threshold. It's going to be whether or not either jungler can go up there to make a play. So it's really going to be a much slower early game, I think, than we saw in the last game, which really snowballed after that failed invade that we saw coming in from failed collapse coming in from Mammoth. Excuse me.
Yeah, things are really calm, surprisingly enough. Both teams seem to be very intimidated. Anarchy doesn't want to screw this up because this could be their last game. If they win it, it's over for them. They win the series. But for Mammoth, they really have to play carefully here because they still want to hit game 3 so that they have a chance of taking this win over Anarchy.
Yeah, anything can really happen in this game. Both teams do have a lot of team fight potential, a lot of pick potential, and a lot of front lines. So there's a lot on the table. Both of these teams can execute with. It's just really going to be which team is able to secure the first advantage is really going to set the tone for the rest of the game. As we saw in the last game where Anarchy got the early advantage, was able to snowball. They did eventually have a couple throws back and forth, but they did still eventually end up securing the victory.
Yeah, so looking at each lane here, it's pretty much even except maybe for the 80 carries. Bliss is actually inside Viper Fang's jungle. He does get hit with the stun. Bubble Trouble connects, but first blood going over to Garen here. Rainer flashes, oh no, that doesn't actually flash, but gets a double kill over on Zoe. Duck solo just finds himself all alone and gets taken out.
Yeah, unfortunately, Viper Fang was actually a level down going into that play, and considering Bliss had invaded the earlier blue buff, I feel like they needed to coordinate as a team to be able to respond to that invade, because you saw they were well behind on that play in terms of rotating over and responding to it. So you have the first blood and the red buff going over to Reynar. He doesn't have the ultimate, so he doesn't have a lot of kill threat onto Great Jace until the ultimate comes back off cooldown, which is still going to be quite a long distance away because he is only a rank 1 ultimate.
Yeah, but that red buff on Garen is so good. That plus his passive means he has so much health regeneration, and he has a lot of threats over on Mundo since the red buff burn does so much damage during these short trades that they have. But he's going to go ahead, go back, pick up a Phage and a...
he already had the page.
Oh, he didn't? Oh, he gets the Kindle Gem, which is pretty good.
Yeah, he didn't quite have enough to finish off his Black Cleaver, which would have been the biggest power spike difference in this early game. Bliss is once again starting a very early Rift Herald, trying to secure that down. They do have total vision control on this side of the map, but he's really not doing a great job of dodging around, as he is eating a lot of damage. Does have the smite coming off cooldown, so should be just fine. Meme is a little bit out of position, does have the Unbreakable Will, is going to pop that arrow, missing just wide, as they do burn the flash from Meme as well as his ultimate, so that is going to be a vulnerable Alistar for the immediate future, but without any major cooldowns available, I don't see him getting punished.
Yeah, at this point, Anarchy is looking for something like a pick or anything to get themselves back inside the game. They're not totally behind, but they're not ahead. And right now, Anarchy wants to be ahead. They don't want to be even right now. They are even with Mammoth for the most part, but we see a 1v1 here. Great Jace versus Rainer, and Rainer coming out on top of that trade here, but it's Mundo. Mundo doesn't really care. He just kind of regens and calls it a day.
Yeah, unless you're killing Mundo, Mundo's just like, whatever. Same thing with Garen. Like, unless you're actually killing them, it's not really that big of a deal. CS is essentially even. It's really the only difference in the kills. And we do have the ultimate back off cooldown from Rainer, so he does have kill threat back onto Jace if he can get the play set up properly. But that's still a mighty big if. We do have Bliss rotating down to the bottom lane. Meme is eating a lot of damage, doesn't quite have the Unbreakable Will off cooldown, but the Chains of Corruption is going to keep him alive as Superduck eats a lot of damage back in trade. Viper Fang is
going to pick up
hero.
first.
Yes, they are going to drop the Rift Ult. They did secure the tower. They do still have the Sejuani ultimate available, the slow coming in from the smite. I don't know if they're going to get as strong of a Rift Ult play as they did in the last game, but they are able to get first tower this game.
Yeah, first turret gold is so good, especially if it's going into the pockets of Varus. So it's pretty worthwhile. Meanwhile, they are looking to maybe take Mountain Drake. It's not looking feasible for them since the bot lane of Anarchy is still alive, up and running, ready to fight. And actually, Viper Fang is going for this. They're looking. Maybe Bliss can go for a smite steal. He does have ultimate up. Doesn't have smite, so not much pressure he has here. He just Jax is forcing.
Hyperfang disengages. Nice combo, but the Sejuani ultimate is going to come in. Superduck flashes out. Does have the Ignite ticking down. Flaydon is going to go. But Hyperfang hops back over and takes the dragon. Is going to get a nice double sub, but the heal coming in from Flaydon is going to keep everyone on. But on the other side of the map, we have a solo kill. I think Raynor went for the dive and failed, or he went to stop the teleport and it costed him his life, but Mammoth still wins out on the trade in the end. They have tempo advantage in the mid lane. They can secure another tower down in this middle lane.
Yeah, that's going to be mid lane turret going down. There's no way that Anarchy is able to contest this, and if Mammoth plays this right, this game could be over within maybe by 22 minutes if they do play this right and everything goes in their favor. By what I mean by that, they'd have to at least win another team fight or pick up an early Baron around 20 minutes and just kind of hard shove. But it really just depends on whether or not they scale decently. Varus isn't typically too strong right now. He's still doing a lot of damage, but it's not his peak that he could be doing.
I mean, there's still a lot of time left in this game, especially considering how long the last game went. We could still be in for another 30 minutes of game action. So there's still a lot left on the table. We did see once again the dragon going over, but it is a 3,000 gold advantage for Mammoth, who do have the tempo and the power advantage early on in this game, and Viper Fang really hasn't been able to do much this game.
Yeah, the thing with Jax jungle is that if you're not really ahead or you're able to pick up some early kills, then you're forced to go Cinderhulk. While it's pretty good on Jax, he's not the best tank. His ultimate does give him those nice stats when you activate it, but typically you see some Blood Razor Jax, which is really strong, gives you a lot of attack speed and a lot of dueling potential. But the fact that he has to go Cinderhulk really kills down his threat potential on the side of Mammoth by a lot.
Yeah, he doesn't really have the same kill threat potential, but you can never really underestimate a Jax, especially if he ends up going into Triforce, which was kind of the build we were seeing when Jax jungle was a thing, as we'd see the Cinderhulk early on into something like the Triforce. Personally, I'm a fan of early Tiamat on Jax, just because it gives them an extra level of wave clear in the jungle. It allows them to clear a lot faster. Arrow is going to miss, so that is a major cooldown down for the side of Anarchy, so that means they're a lot more free to push up on the side of Mammoth.
Yeah, we talked about this last game. Me personally, I don't enjoy these half-map Ashe ultimates. While they are flashy, it's so inefficient. You just wasted a ultimate cooldown. While it may not be the longest out of all the other champions, it's still inefficient in my opinion, especially with it that badly. But we do see a lot of poke from Flaydon. Mammoth is looking to try to siege this second tier turret. Anarchy is just trying to hold out on their own. Just 3 members, 3v3. But Bliss is actually engaging on Viper Fang. Not going to get much out of it, just applying a lot of pressure. Meanwhile, it's an island in the top lane. Raynor really able to come out ahead on top of Jace. He has the Black Cleaver, so Mundo is not so happy right now. The fact that his armor is getting shredded by the Cleaver, and this is going to be second tier turret. No contest at all.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of HP left on that tower, so it's still a little too early to say. But we do have Sadism being popped by the Mundo. He's trying to get the 1v1 kill onto Raynor. Is regenerating quite a lot because there is no executioners, but Raynor does still have the ultimate, which you can always need to be wary of. He's taking 1 tower shot, 2 tower shots. The stop!
Great Jace dabs on him, tells him you're fired. Raynor getting taken out, solo killed once again in the top lane.
Yeah, Raynor has been putting a ton of work up in this solo lane. Raynor actually got solo killed. So it's actually the reverse of the last game where Jace was the one getting solo kill. This time it is Rainer, but it does look like they are going to lose their tier 2 here. Super Trouble Bubble is going to land, which might dissuade them off this push, but they're still trying to brute force down this tower, which pretty much a stiff breeze can kill at this point.
Yeah, meanwhile, we see Great Jace is still up on that top lane. He's getting this free turret damage on Garen's own tower, so if Mammoth isn't able to respond, then it's pretty good trade for Anarchy here. They lose second tier turret for a top turret. It's not the best thing, but if Mundo's able to get it, it's pretty nice for them. It opens up the map for them a lot more, especially around that Baron pit, which they're able to play around.
Yeah, but that's a dead Jace. I'm sorry, even if you flash, if Garen started the ultimate cast, you still die.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Rainer just said, hey, you want to head back to your base? I'll give you a one-way ticket a lot faster than that recall time.
Yeah, unfortunately that was a immediate sent back to base here. I'm assuming Jace is actually going to be looking to go into the Warmog second here, which is going to give him a lot of pressure against the Raynar because he's not going to be as reliant upon the ultimate to regen in between the short trades. We are going to see the towers equalize up in this top lane, and we're going to see about a 5,000 gold advantage for Mammoth currently. And it's going to be up to them to whether or not they can continue this game up under their own tempo.
Yeah, Infernal Drake is up. Both teams would really love this Infernal Drake. I know I would. But Mammoth really has so much pressure, but actually Varus getting hit with the Bubble Trouble. Not much gonna be applied to that, but Great Jace is here. Mundo is ready to fight.
Yeah, they do force the flash out of Mean. Arrow is going to miss as Great Jace is just going straight into the backline, doing as he pleases. Mean going in to the ultimate, but Doug Solos all by himself is going to get sold out by Bliss, while on the other side, we are seeing Twiz falling as well. Jace is still chasing down. Mean is going to get another kill on the backside, so it ends up being a 2-for-1. Flaydon is all by himself. It's going to be another kill over to the Mundo. But he is all by himself, does not have the ultimate available. Nice double stun. He's going to buy a little bit of time on the back side, but in the end, that's a relatively even fight for the side of Anarchy.
Yeah, that's actually a really good fight. The fact that Mundo is able to clean up, it was a huge misplay by Mammoth. They allowed for Mundo to get to the backline so easily. And we see Twiz tunnel vision once again. He's prioritizing trying to kill Duck solo along with Bliss going for Duck solo as well. It allowed Mundo to have not so much CC that he has to deal with. And because of that, he was able to get a nice double kill while tower diving.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this game plays out, considering how much gold is on the Mundo. We are going to see Super Duck getting blown up off the map. A nice little sidestep from Chase, but that is going to be shutdown gold going over to Twiz on the backside. They did get the Infernal Drake on the backside. Viper Fang should be getting chased down here. Is going to get the stun, but the Electric Assault should be able to buy enough time. But the long-range Battle Star from Duck Solo, keeping his jungler alive. Duck Solo better be buying him a drink, but they are going to once again lose another early inhibitor tower, possibly an inhibitor, as Duck Solo is still just now rotating over. So overall, it's still a win for Mammoth.
Yeah, so the fact that Mammoth were able to just secure that inhibitor, not much contested at all either. While the cost of Bliss losing his life, they're just able to out macro Anarchy, and this gives them a lot of pressure. The fact that Superman is going to be running down the base, they can look to maybe go for Baron. It's not optimal since Zoe is still up, so is Ashe, but Flaydon is able to do it quite fast. He does have Bork and
Most of a Ginsu.
almost a Gunsu's recurve bow, enough attack speed, but let's see what Mammoth is able to do here. For Mammoth to actually maintain this lead they have to be able to utilize the super minions to its fullest extent. Right now, they want to be splitting the waves up here. They're sending Rainer up top lane, which is a good move. On the other hand, they also want to have a 1-3-1 at the moment. Try to apply pressure on the bot lane turret as well, while also ARAMing with the aid of super minions. They're able to do this because super minions does a lot of damage and it helps push so fast. But we see Mundo slowly growing. Right now, Mammoth is on a ticking time bomb. If they let Mundo get to those nice 4 item builds that he's able to hit, then he's just going to be a huge, massive HP that they're not going to be able to pick off fast enough.
I mean, there's one thing about the thing about Mundo is if his team doesn't do anything, it doesn't matter how big he is. Is eventually you're able to focus him down because you just kill everyone else first. I disagree with having Raynor top lane right now. He's your teleport. He should be the one who should be in the bottom lane because you can use his TP to pressure the Baron. So I do like they are rotating him down now. Viper Fang is going to use the counter strike to dodge the silence. So a little bit of nice play coming in from me. He is actually the villain, so he's going to be eating a lot of damage from Raynor on this Garen. But considering they know Viper Fang was bottom, they could honestly have started the Baron at this point.
Yeah, Baron's up and running, but it seems like Mammoth aren't sure what they want to do yet. Raynor's once again going for a 1v1 while members of Mammoth are initiating on top of Meme. Our Bang Bus driver, he goes down. Glacial Prism connects on Super Duck, and Twiz is going to get a kill on the Ashe, and this is probably going to allow them to just push down the Nexus turrets. This is actually pretty much a free Baron since Ashe is down, so is Braum, so there's not as much team fight presence. But they're going to go ahead, see if they can take out one of these Nexus turrets, which is going to be so good for them.
Yeah, but they do still have to deal with Great Jace on the Mundo. Duxo is going to get initiated on. Unfortunately, the cleanse is not enough to save his life, as it's up to the big tanky Mundo to see all he can do, but it's just not enough. Is slowly getting bursted down, is able to get one kill back, but it is just not enough as the ace comes in for Mammoth. That should be the end of the game here, with Mammoth forcing the game out much quicker than the last one, as they should be finishing the game here in just about 25 minutes.
Yep, a lot faster game than the first game, but then again, this also means we are going in game 3. Mammoth were able to redeem themselves from first game and say, we're not done yet, we still want a game 3. You guys are not going to 2-0 us, and they're going to go ahead and earn themselves another game against Anarchy.
Yeah, it was a very much better performance coming in front of Mammoth. They had the advantage early, had better macro play, and were able to execute once they had the advantage. So both of the teams that won the early game in both of these games ended up winning the game in the end. So as I stated earlier, whoever gets tempo advantage early really has control of the game, and it's panned out in both games. While the first game was a bloodbath, this was much more a controlled macro performance coming in from Mammoth.
Yeah, Mammoth really pulling in clutch there. Something must have gone down in the in-game locker room for them to have that second wind. And Anarchy not looking like the first team we saw in game 1. It looks like they lost a lot of communication towards the early game once they gave up a couple kills. And it seems like they weren't being proactive enough and they just weren't being motivated to come back to this, which allowed for Mammoth to just kind of run it down mid and play ARAM and just end it fairly quickly, like in a regular ARAM game.
I mean, it was just the difference of macro play. In all honesty, that's what came in the end. They had the tempo advantage early. They were able to get multiple blue buff seals, which ended up getting Raynor a couple early kills onto the Garen. And then once they had that advantage, they took a pretty much on spawn Rift Herald. They took that immediately to the bot lane where they had so much pressure in the 2v2. And they immediately got first tower. They were able to snowball off that. Unlike in the last game where they saw Rift Herald being used very reactively, they had a great push off of it, but it wasn't like they wanted to use it at that time. So good game coming in from Mammoth, but it's game number 3, 1-1, winner take all.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take another break here. We'll be back for game 3, so you guys just sit tight, grab another bucket of popcorn or whatever you're eating while watching the stream, because this game 3 is gonna be one heck of a game 3 here. Both teams are gonna throw punches, And winner takes all, like you said here. This is Pine Field here and Primus. Oh, okay. And that's Primus over there, my co-caster, and we'll be back soon.
I'm gonna be back. And
All
welcome
right.
back, everyone, here for the final game of the evening. I am once again Primus alongside my co-caster here this evening,
Oh, what's up, guys? I'm Pinefield. We're getting into game
Pinefield.
3.
Yes. It
Um,
was intentional. I wanted a dramatic pause so he could come in, introduce himself, provide that high level of impact,
yeah, I gotta have a cool entrance, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we've had cool games so far. And one stop and one fiesta. So, odds are we are probably having a fiesta here in the final game, but you never really know. Mammoth had a very strong game number 2 after the game number 1 did go over to Anarchy after both teams kind of traded the lead back and forth, but Anarchy was kind of in a commanding position the entire game in that first game. But it's match number point to see who's going to be going into our semifinals to face, I believe this half of the bracket is taking on Illumination Valiant. And I do have some unfortunate news. Our second quarterfinal was forfeited. So this will be our final games here tonight here. So hopefully we get a spicy game number 3 here, guys, to close you off on a high note. Pinefield, has there been anything in either of these either of the last 2 games that's really stuck out to you in terms of either team's performance?
Despite the fact that sometimes Mammoth doesn't pick team fighting compositions, they seem to team fight very well. Like, they have really good communication from what I see. Over on Anarchy, it seems like they know how to play one ahead. They know how to clutch these really close team fights as well. But on the other hand, it seems like they're not so sure what to do when they are ahead, which allows for Mammoth to have that opportunity to catch up. So it seems like Anarchy likes to get ahead, but they just don't know what to do with that lead.
Yeah, it's just a matter of the fact that Mammoth seems a lot more comfortable playing a macro-centric style, while Anarchy much more wants to embrace their name, to say a lack of a better term. And we're actually going to see the Zoe going over to Twiz this time. So we're going to see something new from Duck Solo, see what he can bring out against the Zoe to really try to get his team a strong advantage in this early game, because the winner of the early game has won both the first 2 games.
Yeah, so they gave up the first pick for Zoe, and then Anarchy responds, well, we'll just stick to our Ash and Braum bot lane, which I'm assuming he's going to lock in Braum, just so they can secure it, or they're just probably deciding whether they want to take it up, but actually, never mind. We're going to see Bang Bus Driver on that Alistar. The cow goes moo, as they say. So, I'm not sure how this lane works exactly, but we see Mammoth takes away the Braum. They said, okay, well, you can take my Alistar, but I'll take your Braum. So they're basically just swapping supports at this point. I'm not sure the synergy between Ash and Alistar is too good. But with Braum, I'm really expecting to see something really auto tech reliant, not a caster AD carry like Ezreal, maybe something like a Caitlyn or a Lucian. Lucian would actually be so good with a Braum, just so it's easier to proc the concussive blows. But we see Trundle picked up on the side of Mammoth. So what are your thoughts on that Trundle pick?
It's they played it in game number 1. Bliss didn't look great on it. He had a couple really good plays on the champion, but it didn't execute to the same level that he did on the Sejuani in the last game. So it's going to be curious to see how he chooses to look towards this game, given the fact that this is what he lost on in game 1 to number 1, but the champion he did lose to, which is Graves, is banned out this game. So where is he going to choose to? Where is Viper going to look to go in terms of his jungle?
Yeah, so Nocturne's still up, unless unless Mammoth bans it out last. But if Nocturne's still up, I'm expecting Viper to just lock in the Nocturne, just say, hey, it's game 3, all in or nothing at this point. We see Varus banned out as well. I don't think Mammoth was going to go for Varus anyways, but it's a pick they don't want to play against their team composition. We also see Aatrox picked up. Oh, never mind. The last ban from Mammoth is Nocturne, so we'll see what Viper pulls out this time. What's the next trick?
There's a lot on the table. It is actually going to be the Nidalee. It's not a jungler that I think is particularly strong right now, but it is a champion you can play. But
Yeah,
it's just not entirely sure that it is a strong pick right now, because she's very snowbally. Really needs things to go well for her in the early game to really have much of an impact within the game itself. We're going to see the Jhin coming in for Flaydon, and he's going for that more caster AD like he did in the previous game. We could see Raynor once again pick up the Garen, but considering he's going into Great Jace's Aatrox, who's known for his dominant laning phase, we're not entirely sure on how this lane is played out because I've never seen Garen actually lane against an Aatrox. I just know Aatrox is pretty much the preeminent top lane bully, as Bang is continuing his tradition of hovering Draven.
I like it. It gives him a little bit of style, you know? Like, he stands out in the crowd. He's like, well, you normies are just going to lock in your champions, but I'll hover. Wow! That's a Aatrox mid lane or a Gnar mid lane? It looks like it's an Aatrox
Aatrox
mid lane.
mid.
Wow. That's interesting.
So they don't actually have any siege on their team, but I mean Aatrox will have push priority into at least early game onto Twizz's Zoe, because Zoe doesn't really spike up in terms of wave clear until around level 5. But he's a melee champion with not great gap closers going into his Zoe. Like, I don't think it's the best pick. However, if they can try to set up 2v2 plays with Viper Fang and Duck Solo against Bliss and Twiz, I would honestly favor the Nidalee and the Aatrox over the Trundle and Zoe.
Yeah, most definitely. So it's gonna come down. We haven't seen Twiz play on this Zoe yet in this series. It's really up to Twiz to kind of take momentum over this game 3. I'm expecting Nidalee to try to prioritize maybe top lane. It's a little bit easier to gain Garen since no mobility other than his Q. So it's gonna be fairly easy ganks. Bot lane might be a bit of an issue since Jhin is fairly hard to tower dive since you have W and then E. So it's gonna be difficult for him. It's really up to this Nidalee to actually get some really good ganks off, because with Nidalee, you really gotta establish a lead, and from there you pick up the pace. Much like how Viper plays these champions that he selects, they're mostly strong when ahead. We see Jax and Graves picked up in the first 2 games. He's playing these playstyle junglers that rely on having a lead in the early game and going off of that. So I'm not sure he's able to react to more of playing a backseat kind of jungler who relies on the late game. He's mostly like, hey, let's just stomp them early and then we can win. But as we saw second game, that wasn't the case.
I mean, he just didn't do anything on the Jax. Like, he kind of got bullied around by Bliss on Sejuani, which is a bit of a misnomer, as Sejuani's not the strongest early game champion, and he really wasn't able to recover. And the reason why game 1 went the way he did is he was on the front foot, able to get a good trade on the Bliss, invaded him in his blue. They ended up securing an early first blood over to Duck Solo, and that's kind of what set the pace of the game in their favor. And I don't know if that's a likely situation that we're going to see play out. So if he can play around Duck Solo, get him on the front foot, maybe this game will go in the favor of Anarchy. But given the last performance, I have to favor Mammoth.
Yeah, I really like Mammoth's team composition. You have Trundle and Garen, who are really good tanks, along with Braum, who's able to have really good initiation tools. That being said, their only damage dealing champions are Jhin and Zoe, so they got to keep them alive in order for them to win team fights. Typically, yes, Garen does some damage, but it's not optimal for him to do all the damage. It's mostly Zoe and Jhin doing all the work. While on the side of Anarchy, they don't have a full on tank. Yes, they do have the Alistar, but So he's a support, so he's not getting as much gold typically. So he's not going to be really full on tank till the late game, which hopefully these teams aren't going to rely on the late game because Anarchy's composition doesn't really scale that hard into the late game. Other than the Ash, Aatrox does scale, but I feel like his power spike really hits in the mid game rather than the late game. So
Yeah, his real power spike is that like a level 11 to 13 time period, around 20 to 25 minutes. Because after that point, it's really reliant upon him getting flanks to really make sure he's getting into the backline, because if he doesn't get into the backline, he's not landing his damage.
yeah, that's a really difficult backline as well. Braum does such a good job protecting the AD carry if played correctly. And the fact that there's also a Trundle to keep you at bay, along with Sleepy Bubble Trouble, that's a lot for that we have to expect Duck Solo to get through. He has to get through a lot of utilities and CC on the side of Mammoth here.
Yeah, he does have a lot that he is going to have to get through as we are getting on to the Rift for the final game here of the night. We have 1-1 spot in the semifinals on the line here. We have Mammoth on the blue side and Anarchy on the red side. Unfortunately, we are boosted monkeys and don't have some silver scrapes for you guys, but I'm sure you guys can almost certainly pull out the lovely pipes of Martzy and get some silver scrapes going for yourselves here as we are getting into the last game of the night here. And it's pretty much all on Anarchy to win this early game because their team composition doesn't scale the greatest. Like, Alistair's not the greatest late game champion. Aatrox isn't the greatest late game champion. Nidalee's not the greatest late game champion. Jace does okay on the Gnar, but it's really reliant upon him executing on the champion, which he did do a fairly good job in game number 1 on.
Yeah, game 1 he did fairly good on that. Was able to get a couple solo kills, but it wasn't. It was definitely solid. It wasn't like the strongest pick he could get, but just standard starts here. Nothing too fishy going on here. Both teams just kind of relaxing.
Yeah, neither team really wanting to risk anything going terribly wrong in the early stages of the game here. Going to be interesting to see how this early game plays out, because we've seen a lot of, not necessarily early kills, but a lot of early plays around positioning between the two teams. Like, we've seen Bliss playing very aggressively around the enemy buffs, playing very aggressively around Scuttle Crabs, but it hasn't always worked out the greatest for him, as we saw so in game number 1.
Yeah, Anarchy's jungler, Super Viper, tends to have a really more aggressive playstyle, while Bliss seems to be more of a team player. He's relying more on these team fights. He doesn't seem very confident in his ability to kind of take it off by himself. He's more reliant on his team, which isn't a bad thing, but it's something that we have to keep in mind. Whereas Super Viper is more like, hey, I can 1v1. I don't need my team at the moment type of deal that we have going on here.
Yeah, we're seeing once again Flaydon and Meme getting the early advantage. We're seeing a little bit of a trade. You do have to be careful. Viper does have the execute damage. It's going to get tagged by the spear on the backside. That should be Scuttle Crab going over to Viper, as once again both these junglers are taking the exact same path, meeting up around this top Scuttle Crab. Around the same time, we could see a potential invade on this blue. Bliss is trying to pull it away from the wall.
Yeah, a lot of pressure we see here. As once again, we see Viper Fang deep in Bliss's own jungle. Viper Fang's been consistently aggressive, but this might be his downfall here. We see he's kind of dancing between Twiz and Bliss and is able to make it away safely, but Grey Jace is in a bit of trouble here. We see Duck Soul is here as well, and no blood is spilt throughout that whole turn of events.
No blood, no summoners. Everyone just gets off scot-free. So, Viper once again gets a little bit of a front foot advantage in the jungle. Was able to steal away the blue buff. It means Bliss has to back relatively early. Probably after his current wolf camp. You see a little bit of a trade down in the bottom lane, forcing Bang Bus Driver extremely low. And Bang and Super Duck haven't really had any impact in terms of the 2v2 in any of these games.
Yeah, for the most part, they just not losing against their opponents, but they haven't had a really huge lead that makes them stand out during these games. They've just kind of been there, and it's more of waiting for Super Duck to hit that power spike, and then he's suddenly a very important character inside this game.
Or he hits level 6, whichever comes first.
Yeah, either though. That's mostly the case with most bot lanes duo matchups. That's when they come more relevant. But we see actually Duck Solo has a CS lead over Twiz, so I'm not sure if Twiz is not familiar with Zoe.
I mean, that's kind of what I said, though, is that Aatrox does have push priority early on until Twiz really hits that level 5 point and gets some AP under his belt where he can start insta-clearing the backline, because up until that point, Aatrox, not a mana-reliant champion, can constantly spam out those abilities to push out the wave. And Raynor is doing a lot of work on this Garen. Megadar does come in. No boulder toss available, but more trading up in this top lane as he's trying to set the tone and pace in at his advantage, but it's not really showing so far in the CS.
Yeah, the CS is not so relevant, but I'm expecting the lane to go fairly back and forth between Jace and Raynor here, but we see a hard engage on the side of...
Oh, Ignite is on to Bang Bus Driver. Fourth shot doing just enough damage for the Ignite to secure the kill on the back side. Very nice play coming in the bottom lane. Meme is really, really low on the Braum. 4-shot is going to come in and do a lot of damage, but Viper Fang is here. He does land the spear, but the damage is blocked. Electrocute's not going to be able to secure the kill as Super Duck secures a kill with the W. Braum passive is going to land onto Viper Fang. 4-shot, not quite lethal damage on the backside. He is going to chase, try to secure this kill, but I don't think he's going to be able to get it as Viper Fang is one fast kitty cat.
Yeah, Viper Fang, nicely done. He gets a kill up against Mammoth here, which allows them to have that little bit of a lead to compensate for the fact that Bang Bus Driver did go down early. While he did almost go down, the fact that he didn't die there makes it totally worthwhile, despite the fact he did waste a bit of time on the bot side. Meanwhile, Bliss is hovering around top side. This might be a really easy gank on Great Jace here.
Yes, the silence is going to come in a lot of damage, but the flash jump is able to get him away, but that's no flash on the Gnar, so he needs to be a lot more careful on how he uses that hop, because if that hop is on cooldown and Bliss is there, that's a dead Yordle.
Yeah, prehistoric Yordle, if I may say. Yeah, nothing too much is going on. Bliss is trying to stay as proactive as he can, but as we've seen these past 2 games, he isn't necessarily the most proactive jungler. He seems to be more focused on objectives such as Dragon, Herald, or mostly turrets themselves to help siege with his team. He's mostly reliant on his own teammates to just win lane by themselves from the looks of it, while he did try to gank top lane. It's just not what his playstyle is compared to Viper Fang.
Yeah, I mean, he has aggressed early. It's just he generally doesn't aggress early in terms of ganks.
Yeah, most definitely. Especially if he's getting counter jungle constantly by Viper Fang, then I can understand why he's struggling a bit, but Super Duck here has that really huge wave here. It's a lot of pressure here on this Ashe, but at the same time, Fladon's not getting as much DS. He's getting out DS by Ashe, not by much, but it's still noticeable.
Yeah, they are making a play onto this red buff, but they're kind of pigeonholed between the two. Bang Bus Drivers, level 4. Blast Code, unfortunately, separates the team. Ash Arrow is going to miss. The Alistair passive isn't going to be able to connect. This Curtain Call is going to come in. A big crit coming in onto Duck Solo, as I believe Viper Fang did secure that with the smite once again, and they're able to get the disengage, but Oh, but no, Bank Bus Driver pays the price at the end, as that was a very nice Trouble Bubble coming into Twitch.
Yeah, they get. I'm not sure it's exactly worth. While you did counter jungle and take Bliss's red, putting him a little bit behind, I'm not sure sacrificing a whole cow is worth it at the end of the day.
I would not agree with you on that decision ever to sacrifice a cow, but I digress. But I mean, it gives them a little bit more of a tempo advantage in terms of the jungle, because Bang Bus Driver is the bigger issue is the fact that Bang Bus Driver is extremely on the level right now.
Yeah, he's
That's
3
like
levels down compared to Super Duck, who has been getting solo XP, but wow, 5 level, only level 5.
Oh, did she steal the red?
No, I think actually, uh, yeah, she stole the red. Wow, that's Twiz. Just take what he can. Avenges Bliss says, if you can't take the red, then I'll just take theirs.
Minor victory here. It doesn't look like Bliss is gonna look to start that early Rift Herald like he did in the last game. And we mentioned that CS difference. It's closed drastically in the middle lane. We do have Raynar going in for a trade onto Jace. Doesn't really have the sticking potential he needs to quite yet to really stay on top, because he's just always going to eat that trade damage. Is it going to be stolen once again? No, it is not, as Viper Fang does secure that Drake objective here this time.
Yeah, so that's really nice. They pick up Infernal Drake, which is really good, considering the fact that they have a lot of damage on their side. With Nidalee, they have Gnar, who's not so much doing burst damage, but it's a lot of DPS, along with Ashe and Aatrox. So Infernal Drake's really good on them and prevents them from Mammoth getting a Drake lead, and tries to keep them in touch with the gold deficit that they face. It's not huge, but it is slightly noticeable for them. But for what Anarchy needs to do, they really have to make sure that they keep Zoe from getting ahead. They don't want Twiz to get any kills. They don't want her to take out turrets at all. If anything, they want to keep her shut down and prevent her from just kind of going off in the mid game where her power spike usually lies in.
I mean, Zoe at any stage of the game is terrifying.
Yeah,
Like,
most definitely.
It doesn't matter what stage of the game you're in. Zoe is always a terrifying champion, but the most terrifying stage of the game is that mid game before you're really able to get any defensive resist onto your squishier champions to really deal with the amount of damage that the Zoe can put out. I do want to comment that we've been seeing a lot more activity out of the supports trying to roam to this middle lane. We've seen Big Bus Driver went up there earlier. We saw Meme rotate there recently. They're trying to get this middle lane unlocked so they can get either the Aatrox into a side lane or the Zoe out impacting the map, rather than them just sitting in the mid lane. But we're going to see the Rift Herald being forced down to the bot lane. Twiz has rotated down. Sleeping Trouble Bubble is going to land on the Ashe. Glacier Fisher coming in on the backside. Bane Bus Driver trying to do what he can, trying to bot him off. We do have the TP being forced to cancel as he tried to channel it on the tower, as once again, turret first blood going over to Mammoth.
Yeah, that's really good rotation. When you rotate 4 people bot lane, and there's no one to contest it, you look at Viper Fang, he's still clearing his jungle. He's not able to contest this at all. Ron Shield gonna keep Jin from getting sniped from the Nidalee here. But there's just so much aggression on the side of Mammoth, and they have so much pressure on this bot wave that they're just able to just stomp on top of Anarchy without getting punished, despite the fact that they're overstaying their welcome.
Yes, Mammoth. Unfortunately, Raynar is not able to get the execute damage from the ultimate. We do have the ultimate. Nice little spike coming in from Bliss. Sleepy Trouble Bubble is going to back, but the Infernal Trench is going to pull Bliss back in, as he is going to trade his life, as Viper Fang secures that on the backside. Turret dives coming in from Raynar. Is going to follow Flash. Should have enough damage. He's one more auto. Gets a solo kill up in that top lane.
Yeah, it's really good. You know, getting a solo kill. They trade flashes, which is slightly worth it. They also traded ultimates as well, so Gnar ultimate is down, and his TP is still down for another, I believe.
It's about 3 minutes left.
Yeah, 3 minutes, yeah. So that's pretty worth it in the end. especially if that's not going to be up for the next team fight that they're having. So what Anarchy needs is they really need to find a way to pick off someone, because at this point they're just going to lose these next coming team fights. They have to rely on looking for Twiz or maybe Flaydon being out of position by themselves, and if they're able to pick them off, then that's where they're able to find themselves able to get back into this game. Because at the moment, despite Viper Fang being ahead in experience compared to Bliss, Bliss is still with his team. They're still rotating. They're still looking to take out turrets. And while it's only one turret down on the side of Anarchy, look at how Mammoth is able to maneuver themselves and able to rotate themselves to try to optimize for maybe getting more objectives. But we
Oh,
see the
Arrow
Ash Arrow going
does
out.
land onto me, but the W from Braum is going to cancel the Infernal Trains. We do still have Viper sitting on the side trying to poke out, but he hasn't based to complete his jungle item, so the spears really aren't doing a ton of damage at the stage of the game.
Yeah, Viper Fangs has not completed his jungle item at all. He's still sitting on a what I believe to be a Fiendish Codex, whereas Trundle's finished his item. He's already getting his boots upgraded to Ninja Tabbies. He's sitting fairly fine despite him being down in Jungle CS to Nidalee. He's still managing to have an item advantage over Viper Fang. Viper Fang does finish his jungle item, which is good, but it just goes to show how much control Mammoth is. It looks like they're a whole different team compared to first game, because first game it seemed like they had no thoughts on what they wanted to do, but game 2 in this game right now, it looks like Mammoth just has, they're in the zone. They're just ready to take another win off of Anarchy.
I mean, it is still early on. It's only about a 1,500 gold, about a 2,200 gold advantage. Sorry, I couldn't do math there for a second. And that's not as big as an advantage as they did in the previous game. So there's still a lot in the table as Jace is actually 2 levels down. We do have Viper Fang rotating up, does have that red buff slow, is going to land the damage, but there's still not quite enough damage coming in. One more auto with secures the kill for Jace. So they get a nice proactive play in the top lane. Can they secure the tower on the back side of it is really going to be the question.
Yeah, so while Viper Fang is top lane and they got that nice kill on Raynor, this puts Mammoth in a good position to prioritize for this Mountain Drake here, because their jungler's all the way top side. Viper Fang is here now, but Bliss might be able to get it before Viper is able to get within the vicinity of
but the arrow lands on the Flaydon, gets immediately jumped up by Duck Solo, who secures the kill, is going to burn down into his passive on his ultimate, but they able to secure the 2-for-1. Raynor has TP'd in. Jace here, gets immediately gnarred into the wall, sitting in the middle of the team, trying to spin to win, but the headbutt is going to disengage him as they still have the Drake leashed, and they are going to secure the kill on the back side, as that's a 2-for-0 plus Drake for Anarchy.
Yeah, so Anarchy executed exactly what they needed to do here. They realized that they're behind, but they know that in order for them to come back to this, they got to pick off the important carries. Right now, they picked off Flaydon, and as soon as Flaydon was down, the threat of Mammoth just went down by a lot. Yes, Zoe's still relevant, but she's more of an assassin, a mage assassin. She's mostly single target, whereas Jhin is doing a DPS to everyone within the vicinity of the team fight. So them taking out Flaydon just secured them that team fight overall.
Yeah, that was an excellent arrow coming in from SuperDuck. Realizing the positioning from the enemy team, was able to get onto that carry, and they have 2 very powerful Drakes. We have a Ocean Drake coming up next, so not the most ideal Drake, but considering they are into a Zoe, I think it's still a pretty good sheet. We do have Duxo eating a little bit of damage here. Grey Jace has rotated down from the top lane. They are going to be able to hold this tower momentarily, but it's not hanging on by much.
Yeah, so Mammoth seems to be like, they're very intimidated by Anarchy, which they should, because Anarchy is letting them know that they're not giving up just yet, that yes, this is game 3, but you're not going to get this game 3 easily at all.
Ooh, arrow just a bit outside. Viper has rotated in, is looking towards that Lich Bane, so definitely looking for those assassinations rather than more of a supportive or a pure poke build. So it means that she's going to be looking to go in, and that means she's a lot more vulnerable to plays. They do lose the top lane tower as they're trying to counter this siege in the middle lane, but there's a lot of HP and a lot of wave clear on the side of Mammoth, so I don't think Anarchy's actually going to be getting any.
Yeah, they did get top chart, which is good. Nicely done by Rainer. He realizes that Team Anarchy is just all mid. They're all focused trying to get down that mid lane turret, and Rainer is just saying, well, that's a free top turret for me. And they come out on top. They get another free turret. They don't get punished for this at all. Meanwhile, Viper Fang is looking for initiation. He's just chucking the spear, not going to connect on Flaydon. And they're going to lose 3 turrets. All of their first tier turrets are all gone. Nicely done by Mammoth. If they keep up at this point, then this might be just game very soon enough.
He flashes into the bubble. That should be a dead cat. Yes, it is. On the backside, Meme securing the kill. We have Current Call coming in on the backside. Nice little disengage coming in from Duck Solo, but Super Duck is isolated from the rest of his team. Should be able to kite away safely to his tower, but no! The Flash Bomb ultimate secures the knockup, but the flash away from the Deadly Flourish. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Raynor tries to get the kill on the backside, but unfortunately, Demacia Justice was not strong enough to beat Ferleon today.
Yeah, so Mammoth getting a little bit too ambitious. They're playing more than they can chew here. They're not able to handle this, and that dive by Raynor was not optimal at all for them. He should have just rotated down mid lane with them and probably just pushed mid lane with them. But they got greedy over the Ashe. They expend an ultimate from Braum. Flashes from both Braum and Garen as well. So that's a lot investing into an Ashe that you don't kill in the end.
Yeah, and we're seeing these junglers fighting over Scuttle Crab. We do have the rotation advantage over to Anarchy, so they're going to force Bliss off, and Gold's still at a very, very solid 1,500 going over to the side of Mammoth here as we're hitting the 21-minute mark, and there's a lot of Sandy Gold on the table for Anarchy, so if they're able to get picks, they can start recouping a lot of this gold difference if they can start getting some of these picks here, because there's a lot of gold on the table for them.
Yeah, there's so much for Anarchy to do here. While they're still fairly able to win this game, Mammoth just has so much pressure and has a better posture over themselves. They have control over this game. Team Anarchy is just playing reactively. They're not really looking for a game plan here. They're not being enough proactive within the map. They're just reacting to see what Mammoth is doing, and they're just trying their best to counter it. And if they keep on going at this rate, there's going to be a time and place where Mammoth just totally stomps them in a team fight, and it's game over for them.
I mean, the game's always going to get to the point where whichever team wins the team fight can theoretically win the game. It's just the nature of the death timers we have. Baron is live on the table here, has been for about 2 minutes. We have the Ocean Drake spawning here in about 45 seconds. It's probably going to be the next point of contention between these two teams, because I don't think either of these teams can really burn down Baron extremely quickly. Yes, yes, Mammoth has a massive amount of Baron secure with the Jhin 4-shot, but Jhin, Zoe, Trundle, not really the best Baron killing champions here, as both teams are pressuring around this objective. Deadly Flourish is going to miss onto Viper Fang, who is slightly out of position. The ultimate is going to miss as Viper just hops away, but Curtain Call is going to secure them the space advantage to try to do this Ocean.
Yeah, they're able to zone them off. It was a little bit too early because now Anarchy's looking for a re-engage. They know Braum ultimate's down. They also know that Jin's ultimate is also down. So at this point, they're like, okay, well, let's just go and try to look for a kill here. They're trying to pick him off here.
Oh, but the Flash 3-man combo coming in from Bank Bus Driver, getting immediately down to the backline. Bliss is stunned up by the trample. There's just not enough damage following up as Raynor is eating all the damage on the backside. Raynor getting stunned by the Braum passive, but the Gnar is massive from Chase immediately on to Flaydon. Infernal Chains is going to buy a lot of zone control, but everyone from Anarchy is dead. The ultimate wears off onto Duck Solo, as it's going to be an ace coming in the end for the side of Mammoth. And that was just a mis-executed team fight from Anarchy.
Yeah, Anarchy not in the best position. They were split up during that team fight. And at that point, while Nara was able to charge in there, they only really killed Flaydon. Yes, you do want to kill Flaydon, but if it costs you a whole clean ace just to kill one person, you're not in a good spot at all. And that team fight was not a good position for Anarchy because, yes, they had the advantage in terms of ultimate cooldowns. The way they branched themselves off that narrow pathway just put them in a bad position for Zoe to just bubble trouble any target walking past that walkway. And it led to them going into an elongated team fight that ultimately wasn't worth for them.
I mean, Viper went for the hyper squishy build on the Nidalee, has 0 HP, 0 defensive stats, and he goes in trying to get the assassination with Bang Bus Driver, who had an excellent initiation, but the issue is he's so far ahead of everyone else on his team that it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, so while the 3-man knockup was really nice from Bus Banger, it's not really relevant. Yes, 3-man knockups are amazing, but they don't do much if you're not killing the targets that you knock up. They just look cool, and in the end, Bang Bus Driver did a nice job. There's just not enough damage on his team in order for them to capitalize off him getting those nice engages.
Yeah, I mean, it was a strong attempt coming in from Anarchy, but the gold has blossomed to about a 3,000 gold advantage. They are still in a relatively decent spot, however, but they have a lot less room to try to potentially make plays because their team composition doesn't have the greatest of initiation, doesn't have the greatest of wave clear, and doesn't have the most consistent damage to try to secure kills on targets without spears landing from Viper.
Yeah, Viper at this point is just not going to be able to do much the longer the game progresses, especially if he's going for a tank, a squishy build here. But Twitch is going to take out Super Duck. Nothing.
Just so he thinks. Nothing there. Just so he thinks. Jace is getting a little bit of an advantage in the side lane, has that Black Cleaver and has some HP from the pieces of the Frozen Mount, so is starting to do better in the side lane. They lose their mid lane tier 1. They're probably going to lose their red buff here, and it's just starting to slowly swing more and more favor of Mammoth with this controlled macro style. Their gold almost now up to 5k, and considering you would probably say their team composition scales better, this is exactly the position you want to be as Mammoth.
Yeah, Mammoth has been doing really good lately. During this game at least. They have done a really good job sieging for turrets. It's fairly easy for them considering they do have Zoe. And Jin's pretty good at zoning them out. If he just procs W on them, they're rooted, so that applies a lot of pressure for them to disengage away from whatever objective Mammoth is prioritizing. But Viper Fang dancing around Bliss should not go in that bush, but then again, Zoe lands a nice bubble trouble on top of the Alistar here.
Yeah, the CC chain is going to come in onto base. Bang Bus Driver does have the ultimate Unbreakable Wool still going, so he's going to stay a little bit of live. Jace misses the catch on his boomerang, is going to hop away. Rainer's not going to be able to catch up quite yet due to the speed, but now is open to the initiation. Jace almost has the Meganar available, is going to get a nice silence to buy a little bit of time on the disengage, but on the other side of the map, Baron control is in favor. Oh, Viper Fang, what are you doing there? As he gets caught solo all by himself with no backup from his team, is able to get the disengage, but he trades the life of support for the life of his own, and I don't know why Viper was there.
Viper was definitely out of place there. He was probably going for an assassin attempt on either Flydon or Zoe, but obviously was way out of position, which led to him almost dying. Because of that, Bang Bus Driver has to sacrifice himself, and because of that, they don't have anyone to initiate for a fight here. But meanwhile, Mammoth wasn't able to contest that Baron. They're not able to do it at all. probably too low. So they figure they don't want to risk it. They don't want to get ace, because if they do get ace, then Anarchy has that window of opportunity to just catch up. They're able to reestablish themselves and aim to come back into this game. But at this point, this game is not looking too good for them at all. It seems as if Mammoth is just taking their time, waiting for Anarchy to kind of slowly lose control over this game, because they have no control at all. Mammoth has been having all this control throughout the whole game, but Mammoth just wants to take it slow. They don't want to rush anything, because if they rush anything at all, then they can find themselves in a bit of a sticky situation here.
Yeah, they're trying to fight over Baron Vision right now, but they're really not in a position to really do so. As I said, they're down 5,000 gold. Really, their strongest is Jace on the Snar at this point. Yes, you do have 3 kills onto the Aatrox, but Aatrox not the greatest of team fighting champions, and Raynor really isn't going to be doing much in the side lane anymore. You have the Frozen Mallet completed onto the Gnar. It's really going to be up to Jace to really kind of control the pace of the side lane. I mean, Garen is actually pretty good, but the Deadly Flourish is going to connect. He does hop away from the ultimate, as once again Bang Bus Driver eating the Sleepy Trouble Bubble for the team, has to burn the Unbreakable Will to get away. So they trade 1 ult for 2 ultimates, but they're still not in the greatest of positions around this Baron.
Yeah, Baron's a little bit too risky at this point. While Mammoth does have a huge lead over Anarchy, it's not optimal for them, because they don't do it as fast as Anarchy could possibly do Baron, since they have Ashe. While Jen does have the execute damage, they're just going to settle for Dragon here. They are aware that Mammoth is taking Dragon, but Viper Fang looking to try to fight here. He's on the wrong side. Your base is on the other side of the map, buddy. And Viper Fang.
I mean, it is in Italy.
It is in Italy, but then again, you have Zoe who's going to be able to chase. Never mind, Viper Fang is A-okay. But
Super Duck might not be. Gets rooted up by the long range ultimate, as Justice is secured for Raynor, as he secures the kill with the Sword of Justice here. They are trying to secure more potential around this Baron. They still have not started the Baron as of yet, but considering the fact, Meme is a little bit out of position. It's just gonna die for free.
Yeah, Meme way out of position there. Puts himself in a position where Anarchy is just able to collapse on him, and it's a fairly easy. And because of that, they just have enough pressure to get Mammoth off this Baron. Blizz gonna phase check into the bush. Alistar messes up his WQ combo. Really messes up the initiation there. Twiz gets snagged by a spear, but Viper Fang is so behind that he's not able to prioritize off that really nice spear he got off on Twiz.
Oh dear God, that burst damage is, as Curtain Call is going to come in on the bottom side, but they're good guys blocking for their jungler, and Jace just continues to sit in the side lane, and considering the fact that the jungler is poked out, that's their opportunity to try to start this Baron, and with nobody in position to contest, it is burned down extremely slowly. Lindley does have a lot of mobility, might be able to get into range. They do know it's happening. It's still at about 8k. Nidalee is still a long ways away, does have a lot of secure potential with the
They're doing this Baron too
ultimate
slow.
land onto Twiz. Twiz should end up falling. They get the shutdown onto the Zoe. That means they have to stop Baron. Baron was down to about 4,000, didn't get any lower, but that just means that the Baron is released for Anarchy, as this could just be the trade back, but they're trying to set up the initiation. Red team secures the Baron. Nasher Doug Souls immediately into the team. Gnar, it's the Gnar onto Flaydon once again, as that's the kill onto the Jin as he's trying to get away. Tower is there to defend them from the turret dive, but Baron goes to Anarchy.
Yeah, that was a really good call. Mammoth didn't respect Anarchy's speed in clearing out Baron. Mammoth just assumed that Anarchy wasn't going to be able to progress against them in that Baron. And because of that, they did it so slow that Anarchy was just able to show up there and cause a lot of disruption for Mammoth. because of that, they just couldn't clear it, and it gave them the opportunity here to clear our Baron. But Nara does go down, but they have Baron buff, and they're running it down mid here.
Twist is dead. Yeah, I mean, he bought a heck of a lot of time. That's going to be an inhibitor falling. Viper's actually still delaying the backs. Twiz is down for 35 seconds. It's only Flaydon and Flaydon in the base as the execute comes in from Viper. They're trying to stall for the end of the game. Flaydon's not going to be able to defend all by himself as it's going to be Anarchy securing the victory after a Baron call.
Yeah, there's enough damage. If Flaydon dies, they're not able to protect this Nexus turret at all. This is actually going to be game here. Flaydon has to pull something out, but he doesn't. Superdog's going to be able to auto-attack the turret, right-click that Nexus turret, and end the game right then and there.
So, lessons to be learned. Don't start Baron when everyone is alive. That is the lesson to be learned, but congratulations to Anarchy for securing their spot in the semifinals against Illumination Spectrum. That's going to be a whale of a series here, and I do have to ask, who is your series MVP?
On the side of Anarchy, it seems really that I'd have to give it mostly towards Viper Fang. While he wasn't relatively strong throughout the game, that Baron's not steal, but the fact that he was able to contest Baron throughout that whole Baron team fight going on there was really nice, and the fact that he was able to pick it up for his team and also stall on the top side of the map and prevent them from going down to their base allowed for Anarchy to just run it down mid, just crack down inhibitors and Nexus turrets, and really allow them to have that advantage in terms of team fighting, because it was just Flaydon protecting the base.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Jhin cannot defend 1v3 all by himself against Baron and the amount of damage that was all there, because you had you had the two primary carries there. You had Duck Solo on the Aatrox, and you had the Ashe. That's all the turret killing potential you need, and that was honestly the end of the game. And I would have to agree with you on the choice of MVP going over, with the series going over to Anarchy, but a lot of credit needs to go over to Mammoth. They had a very clean macro game. They just made one mistake and it ended up costing the game.
Yeah, what confuses me most is that Mammoth was going for Baron when honestly they were so ahead. They had such a nice lead that they honestly could have just grouped together up in 5, run it down mid, and their sieging potential and their pressure would have been enough, because Viper Fang's useless if they're all grouped up, because Viper Fang excels at picking off members one by one. Team fighting, it's not so easy for him, especially if he was so behind. But the fact that Bliss or Team Mammoth made the call for Baron really set up Anarchy to have that window of opportunity to make a comeback.
Yeah, it was a very, very close game. We had some very nice picks coming in from Twiz on the Zoe, which got his team up to the 5K goal lead, and then they're just like, okay, we're going to stop trying to siege and just stand around Baron. That is never a good decision.
Yeah, once again, Mammoth not able to finish out the games that they have in control. We saw in game 1 where Team Mammoth was so close to ending, but Twiz was not prioritizing that Nexus turrets, and it cost them the first game. And look at game 3 where they had the option to just kind of not end right away, but put themselves in a position where Anarchy could not make a comeback if all their base was dying, especially in the mid lane, because they had mid lane so low. They had no turrets, only an inhibitor turret, I believe. So a misplay by Mammoth, but well done by Anarchy. Anarchy really pulled in through thick and thin. They were able to 2-1 and beat out Team Mammoth. Nicely done by both teams.
Yeah, it was a good series overall, and unfortunately that is the end of our games here for our gold division here at the Overdrive League for our quarterfinals. As I mentioned earlier, our second quarterfinal was forfeited due to extenuating circumstances. So we are done here for tonight. We do have another round of quarterfinals coming for you on Monday. So please be sure to tune tune into that for our Platinum Division. Once again, I am Primus alongside Pinefield, bringing the guys to cast. I want to thank Slim for the excellent work on our stream, and thank everyone for tuning in, and you guys all have a great night.
Thanks for stopping by. You guys have a good one.